Okay, I will call to order the Rolesville Board of Commissioners. This is a regular business meeting, Tuesday, August 18th, 2026. I want to thank everybody in attendance. We got a good turnout tonight. Appreciate everybody's coming out to the meeting. I think a lot of things going on, and I appreciate the public being involved and part of that. So thank you everybody for coming out tonight. This is our last summer meeting. We are on the summer schedule, so next September, member of the board would go back to the regular agenda of business meetings, the first meeting of the month. And so I think we got a large agenda tonight, so we've got several public hearings to do and those type things, and some business meeting items to take care of, so we will jump right into it. First, I want to do an invocation and pledge allegiance. We have Steve Davis from here in Rolesville, resident Rolesville, will lead us in prayer tonight. I think he's retired, but I've heard he's working at Bethlehem Church. I'm not sure, but yeah. So we'll have him do the invocation. But first, I want everybody to stand for pledge allegiance. If you would, come on up, Stephen, and do this invocation. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we pray together. Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight seeking your leadership, conducting the business of our town. We ask your guidance and your wisdom for the decisions our town board and mayor will be called on to make. Lead them and give them the wisdom they need to be able to do those things that will reflect our concern as well as theirs. Everyone that are citizens of for each other and our community as a whole. Enable us as we work together with your generosity of spirit towards one another. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
What's the proclamation title, Dan?
Purple Heart Day.
Purple Heart Day, which is this month. And so to make an official board, we will approve the agenda first, if you're okay with adding this proclamation to the agenda. So I'll take a motion for approval agenda with the addition of the proclamation. I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. Ayes do have it. Motion approved. So first proclamation is 8U softball coach pitching all-stars. I think our liaison to Parks and Recs want to read that one for us. So April,
all right. So forgive me in advance if I don't say your names right, okay? But if you want to just yell it out after I say it, please do if I don't get it right, okay? All right, so the proclamation of the town of Rolesville recognizing the 2026 Rolesville 8U Coach Pitch softball team. Yay. Whereas the 2026 Rolesville 8U Coach Pitch softball team earned the title for runner-up in the District 4 Capital and Northern Piedmont Region Tar Heel League tournament through outstanding teamwork, determination, and sportsmanship. And whereas the team qualified to compete in the 2026 Tar Heel League softball state tournament held in Lawrenceburg, North Carolina, from July 16th through the 19th, 2026, proudly representing the town of Rolesville on the state stage. And whereas, although the team did not capture the state championship, the players demonstrated exceptional teamwork, perseverance, positive character, and community pride throughout the tournament, serving as outstanding ambassadors for the town of Rolesville. And whereas the town of Rolesville proudly recognizes the members of the 2026 Rolesville 8U Coach Pitch softball team, Ava Alford, Reagan Brown, McKenna Kalami, Maisie Gallo, Josie Garris, Evelyn Hemming, Bianca Iender, Aubrey Lazine, Nevaeh Logan, Charlotte Poole, Shepard Williams, and Elodie Zoller. Did I do okay? Butchered them too bad? Sorry, sorry. Along with their dedicated coaching staff, head coach Paul Iender, close maybe, and assistant coaches Savannah Alford, Chris Brown, and Christina Gallo for their commitment, teamwork, sportsmanship, and outstanding representation of the town of Rolesville through the 2026 season. And whereas the volunteer coaches dedicated countless hours of their time, leadership, and encouragement to developing the skills, confidence, teamwork, and sportsmanship of these young athletes, making a lasting impact on and off the field. And whereas the town of Rolesville recognizes and celebrates the accomplishments of these players, coaches, families, and supporters whose dedication and commitment contributed to an unforgettable season and exemplifies the values of youth athletics. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Mayor and Town Board of Commissioners of the town of Rolesville hereby commend and congratulate the 2026 Rolesville 8U Coach Pitch softball team for an outstanding season, their District 4 runner-up finish, and their qualification for the 2026 Tar Heel League Softball State Tournament. The town expresses its sincere appreciation to the players, coaches, parents, and supporters for representing Rolesville with integrity, teamwork, perseverance, and pride. Their accomplishments have brought honor to our community and serve as an inspiration for future generations of young athletes. Adopted this 18th day of August, 2026, Mayor Ronnie I. Curran.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I do have a signed document for you, so if you would, the coaches and the players come down front here, so we'll get a picture. So if all the coaches, and April, I'm gonna let you come down, you present this document.
Okay.
Yeah, right across the front.
You get right behind them.
Behind them, yep.
We need to move the chairs. Yes, put them in the middle.
All right. We are presenting this to you on behalf of the town of Rolesville. We want to wish you all congratulations. You did a great job, and we're so proud of all of you.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
June in for the win.
Hold on, we're good.
Thank you all so much. Congratulations.
That's your future. Right there. Okay, we got another proclamation due. This is National Senior Citizens Day, and our liaison to the senior citizens, Commissioner Michael Paul, if you would read that one for us.
Thank you. Day proclamation of the town of Rolesville, National Senior Citizens Day. Whereas older Americans have contributed immeasurably to the strength, vitality, and character of our nation through their wisdom, experience, and sacrifices, and whereas National Senior Citizens Day was established in 1988 by President Ronald Reagan to honor the achievements and ongoing contributions of our senior citizens and to raise awareness of issues that affect their quality of life. And whereas today's seniors are active, engaged, and making significant contributions to their families, communities, and the economy, serving as volunteers, caregivers, mentors, and leaders. And whereas as we celebrate the achievements of senior citizens, we also reaffirm our commitment to supporting their dignity, independence, and well-being through quality health care, accessible services, and community involvement. And whereas it is fitting to recognize and express our deepest gratitude to the senior citizens who have helped shape our communities and continue to enrich our lives. And whereas we are committed to fostering a community where people of all ages are valued, supported, and empowered to live healthy, meaningful, and fulfilling lives. Now therefore, Ronnie I. Curran, Mayor, and the Board of Commissioners do hereby proclaim August 21st, 2026 as National Senior Citizens Day, and encourage all residents to honor the older adults in our community by expressing gratitude, spending time with senior family members, friends, and neighbors, and recognizing the lasting impact they have made on our lives and our future. Adopted the 18th day of August, 2026, Ronnie I. Curran, Mayor.
Thank you, Mike Paul. Appreciate that. And we'll mention a little bit more about tomorrow in your liaison reports. Thanks.
Will do.
Appreciate that. And then the last one, Mike, Dan T. Austin, you got one you want to read?
Yes, sir. Proclamation of the Town of Rolesville, recognizing August 7, 2026 as Purple Heart Day. Whereas the Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration in present use and the first American Service Award made available to the common soldier. Originally established by General George Washington in 1782 as the badge of military merit. And whereas the Purple Heart is awarded to the members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or killed as a result of enemy action while serving our nation, and whereas since its founding, the Purple Heart has been awarded to well over 1.9 million American service members who bore the physical and emotional scars of combat in defense of our freedom. And whereas National Purple Heart Day, observed annually on August 7th, provides an opportunity for our community to pause and honor the brave men and women who have shed blood in our service to our country, as well as to remember those who gave their lives. And whereas it is fitting and proper that we recognize the sacrifice of these American heroes and express our sincere appreciation for their service. Now therefore be it proclaimed that Mayor Ronnie I. Curran and the Board of Commissioners of Rolesville, on behalf of all citizens, do hereby proclaim August 7, 2026 as Purple Heart Day in the town of Rolesville, and encourages all residents to join in honoring the courage and sacrifice of our combat wounded and fallen service members. Proclaim this 18th day, August 2026.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, sir, for allowing me to read it.
Yep, okay. That wraps up our proclamations. We do have a new audio system. Tonight's the first night we're using this. It seems like it's working well. I think the old system is hard to hear if you was here in attendance, but it was kind of easier to hear online, I think. So is everybody hearing okay? Everybody sounds, well, good. I think it's working then. Great, appreciate that. So with that, our next item is public comments. This is the time individuals get a chance to speak to the board. Your comments should be directed to the board professionally and polite, with respect, and we have to limit you to 3 minutes to that. We don't have anyone to sign up. Now, we do have a couple of public hearings coming up, so if you want to speak to anything specifically, that'll be fine, but if you want to speak to anything generally to the public, this is time. So we have a sign up for the public hearing. Okay. Okay. So we don't have a public comment person. Anybody want to speak public? Well, thank you. Appreciate that. We also really welcome to any kind of written comments. If you want to make any kind of comments to the general board here on anything to do with the town, we appreciate any type of general comments also. So we'll take any comments that you have. So appreciate that. So moving along, our next item is the consent agenda. We have 3 items on the consent agenda. One is the meetings from July 21, 2026. The other one is a resolution to introduce legislation to a unique zip code. I think the board has been working on that for a while, so you guys saw that in the package. If you if you prefer to, any discussion on that, we can pull it. And the other one is one that the attorney's been working on a while, roadway reimbursement development agreement with Fowler Road Extension. Both of those been ongoing for several months. And if anybody want to comment on any of those things, we're welcome to pull it. If not, I will entertain a motion for consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion second. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Not hearing it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Motion approved. Thank you very much. Liaison reports. This is an opportunity where the commissioners, some of the things that they've been working on to share with the public, some of the things that's going on generally in town and what they're focused on. And I'm going to start to my left here, start now with Jen. So Jen, do you have anything from public safety you'd like to comment on? I know we've been working on a few things. So.
Yes. So we've got some individual updates from fire, police, and then a comment about the joint public safety issue that we've been working on. So the fire department members, they have attended the SAFRE conference in Raleigh for training and professional development. So strong emphasis on continuing, individual development within, I'm sorry, I thought my mic just, no, okay. The department is still speaking with apparatus vendors to replace engine 153. Recruitment is underway to fill 2 firefighter vacancies, and 6 candidates have advanced to interviews. And the fire department did conduct a critical incident stress debrief following the fatal Willow Tower Court fire. So, and there's an after-action review scheduled for next week too. So I know that was a tough one for some of the folks. Police department, they met with Wake County Public Schools regarding safety protocols. And recruitment is still underway for police officer and sergeant positions. One thing to note, National Night Out is scheduled for October 6th from 5:30 to 7:30 at Redford Place Park. And the police department continues to offer its internet exchange safe zone at the fire department on the side of the building, so that if you're making a marketplace transaction, it's just a safe place to do so. The one issue that we have been working on, mayor, myself, town manager, both chiefs met with the DOT. Out of nowhere, they blocked off the emergency turnaround at the intersection of Young and 401. It was something that's been utilized basically since the intersection has been up. With no warning, they put up big yellow signs so that they couldn't access that point to be able to get to emergency calls on the other side of 401. There wasn't much of a reason for it, so we have been working with DOT to get a resolution to clear that pathway for our emergency services vehicles to decrease call times.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Jen. Okay. Commissioner Wong, Planning Department, anything?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We didn't have a lot to report from last meeting, but there are a few things that will be coming before us. There is the minor subdivision lot frontage that the planning board they began conversations on what that would look like in regards to the frontage of a minor subdivision based upon the 20-foot the 20-foot. I want to give it the right wording, please. Based upon the 20 feet in width on a public street, where there may be some instances where exceptions are reasonable, and that is something that we're going to be talking about in general. Next up will also be some technical corrections that we made to TA-26.007, and there are some conversations that we'll be having about the overlay around the downtown area. Over and beyond that, Mr. Mayor, those are all the updates that I have at this time from planning.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Commissioner. Next, the Parks and Rec.
All right, we had our meeting on July 22nd, and as you just witnessed, our 8U girls softball team, so that was exciting for them. We have roughly 349 kids to play baseball and softball. These numbers were as of July 22nd. Soccer, roughly 290 kids. Flag football, roughly 103 kids. So they are filling up, and I'm sure they're more than that right now at this point. And so that's exciting to have those fill up. We have on 9/11 events that's coming up, and that there's a 5K and a 1-mile walk that day, as well as honoring and remembrance. And that will happen on the 12th, starting at 8:30, around 8:30 in the morning to 1. You can go to our website for more information for those 3 events. So we're looking forward to that. We have a blood drive on September 18th from 10 to 3 here in the Rolesville Community Center. At that time, the numbers were almost maxed out. It may be full now. It is full now? No, still some slots left. Okay, so you can still get in there to donate blood on September 18th. And there's some senior updates, which I'm sure Commissioner Paul will take care of that part. The ADA picnic tables at the park were taken care of, so now those are ADA compliant. And we also have our gazebo that was painted, and as well as the swings. And that's at the Rolesville, the Main Street Park. Aside from that, just an update that the farm is in design phase. So we're waiting to hear what's next with that. And that's all that I have.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Commissioner. Veterans, Commissioner Austin.
Yes, sir. This month, our nation observed 4 important military events. On August 4th, we marked the U.S. Coast Guard birthday, celebrating the founding of the Revenue Cutter Service in 1790, the Coast Guard earliest predecessor. On August 7th is Purple Heart Day, a day set aside to honor the service members who were wounded or killed in combat while serving our country. August 16th, we recognize National Airborne Day. We celebrate the first official U.S. Army parachute jump conducted in 1940. Never understood jumping out of an airplane that is not going down. Love my airborne troops though. And on August 29th, we celebrate the Marine Forces Reserve birthday, marking the establishment of the Marine Corps Reserve in 1916. The Wake Forest Purple Heart Foundation on August 15th held its 17th annual Purple Heart Banquet. The guest speaker was First Lieutenant Patrick McClary III, United States Marine Corps retired. The Joel Fund here in Rolesville, which serves as our Veterans Center, held its quarterly recon, which is called Resource Connection, on August 15th from 8:30 to 1000 hours at the Joel Center here in town. The conversation focused on resources for military-connected kids and teens. If you're wondering what benefits, scholarships, or other resources your children may be eligible for, that event was for you. The next recon is 17 October, and the topic is supportive services. The Veterans Memorial Committee met by Zoom on 30 July to discuss the design phase with ADW. So that way we can decide on a proper name, but as well as a trifecta of a justice memorial, removing the George Taylor out of the park into the town campus, as well as a 9/11 artifact being on campus and our Veterans Memorial. So it should be the first of its kind. And Mr. Mayor and Board, that's all I have.
Great, okay. And last, senior citizens, Commissioner Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone, again. The Senior Center is continuing to gain momentum, thanks to June, Quincy, and the rest of the Parks and Rec staff. We're seeing a steady increase of participants and a number of programs offered. For what it's worth, my wife Teresa and I attended several line dancing classes, and we had a great time. We intend to be regulars in there going forward. Tomorrow, August 19th, is the Golden Years Expo to be held at Rolesville Baptist Church. Hours are from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be dozens of local vendors there to discuss how they can help improve the lives of our senior residents. This event has grown significantly year over year, so please come out and see what you've been missing. My understanding is that the mayor will open the event and Commissioner Alston will be the MC. Finally, the Senior Network is hosting its 3rd annual charity golf tournament Thursday, September 10th at 9:30 a.m. Spots are filling fast, so sign up today for a fun-filled day of golf and laughter. Visit theseniornetwork.org for more information to sign up as a sponsor or a player. That's what I have for you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, good job, appreciate that. And hope everybody come out tomorrow. Be a good event, so appreciate it. So our next item is a couple of staff reports, economic development update, Michael McFarland, he has a written report. Did you guys have any documents? We're not going to read that tonight. We are going to get a capital project report update verbally from our town engineer, Scott Knopf. So if you would, where's Scott at? There he is. You need video, you do? While Scott getting that set up, we also have a planning department update. That is also a paper report in your packages from Stephen Winsman, so you guys have that in your package also. And that will conclude our staff reports, and Scott, it's all yours.
And I appreciate your time. I'm here trying to give an update about the farm project. This is obviously discuss some time. Just some recap on what exactly the farm is. It's broken up into a number of phases. The first phase is actually complete. That was the driveway to the farm campus, which is really it was a gravel parking lot and some handicap parking, as well as the entrances to the farm off of 401. That has been completed. So that phase has been complete. We recently, I think DOT signed off on it, and everything was done. So we're moving now, and here's just a picture of what's out there currently. It's just a phase one, shows the driveway. It's got the loop around, and it has 2 entrances off of 401. So now we're moving into the design phase, and what is going on is now phase 2 is going to be the soccer complex. The reason that we've moved the soccer complex up into the next phase that we're going to be working on is because of some of the grants that we have received. And they have a 3-year shelf life. So one of them is like a matching grant from Wake County, $3.8 million, which we will be matching that. And we also have gotten some money from the North Carolina Football Club. I think initially they had pledged like $1 million. It might be more than that to complete what they're going to be doing on the soccer fields. But certainly they have been committed to finish the soccer fields once what it is. So we're going to get to the soccer fields to a rough grading stage, and then they're going to come in and finish it with putting on the fine grading, putting all the markings down and things like that, and they'll complete the soccer phase. And this phase also is going to be including a parking lot. And I'll kind of go down here. This is kind of what this phase looking like. It's gonna extend the loop road, so it's gonna go all the way. That center part, that is now it's gonna be phase 3, where the community center will be someday. So the road that is the loop road, it kind of completes it around there. I think that was important so we could have, when people are coming in and out of the park, if there's games going on, people are coming in, people are leaving, it gives some sort of traffic flow that won't cause a lot of congestion in there. So this phase, it does include the soccer fields. It includes a pavilion down there on the far left side of it. We're in between where the 4 soccer fields are. And it's gonna include all of the parking that's associated with this particular phase. And each of these phases is gonna be designed independently. So this one has its own water from wells and septic. And so that's gonna be phase 2. And here is just some renderings kind of what that might look like. Here's the soccer field again. The pavilion, this is just an image that's one of the renderings that they put forth that we can, it could possibly look like. But now that we're in the design phase, we're gonna start getting a little bit more details about that. So, then. So now the multi-use activity center is going to be phase 3 of the project. That's gonna be after the soccer fields. This one is estimated to cost a total of $10.4 million, and that is going to include the activity center itself, the event lawn that's kind of in the middle of that loop road, and all the associated infrastructure, well and septic and then things like that. And so here is just some more renderings of what the activity center might possibly look like. This includes like indoor facilities for basketball, pickleball. It's going to include bathrooms, obviously. And so that's what we envisioned for that. And I say, once we get kind of closer to that design phase, that's when we're going to get more of the details and specifically what that building is going to look like. But that's going to start taking place after we, I think, after the design phase will start once the construction of phase 2 begins. And I think I'll back up real quick, and I don't think I gave you the dates on that. So we're expecting the design for the phase 2, the soccer fields, to be completed by the end of this year. I'm hopeful for that. And construction is going to begin in summer of next year. And I would expect it to take about 12 months to complete the construction. So we're looking about opening the soccer fields up in summer of 2028. Hopefully spring, so we can get use of it a little bit more. So there's phase 3. Here's the activity center. And finally, the last phases is what's called the agro-tourism area. It's also been referred to as the orchard. This is going to be basically a cleaning up of that particular area. I think there's an existing farmhouse that may be demolished. I think that's expected to be demolished. There are barns and other structures out there that will be evaluated to see if they're viable, because I think it's been expressed that they want to keep those as part of, as part of that phase. And so it's going to include any kind of landscaping and any pedestrian improvements that might be left over. So that could be some greenway trails that would surround the rest of the property. And so we're hoping that phase, that's going to be pushed out a little bit further once the community center or the activity center has been underway. And so here's just some more renderings of what that phase of it is. It's it's got the trees, it's got the landscaping, it's got the lawn area, and as well as some pathways, greenways that traverse the entire area. I know that in some past renderings, there's the portion that is south of the 2 ponds out there. That still is in consideration, but the costs in order to do something on that side would be high, because we would have to really rehabilitate the dams to those particular ponds, and that's a really expensive proposition. So we're going to, once we get sort of moving towards that phase of it, we're really going to sit down and do an analysis, a cost-benefit analysis of if it's worth it to really use that south side of the property. But for now, we're going to leave it with this particular phase. And so that's my update on the farm. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
How many soccer fields are we looking at?
4 full-size soccer fields.
Is that consistent? I know we have talked about having some hosting leagues or something. Is that consistent, Eric?
Yeah, I think 5 had been talked about at one point, but when our conversations with the football club, Jude, that 4 was going to be sufficient for what they needed.
Okay, thank you.
And then I know at a certain point in talks, there were going to be some baseball fields too. Is that out of the question? Is that another phase?
That's included in the future phases. It's not going to be done with phase 2 or phase 3, but it's still in consideration. There was some renderings that showed the baseball fields kind of over near where the soccer field was, and there was also one kind of on the orchard side of it.
Okay.
That's still into consideration, but it's pushed off into a future phase, like associated with a phase 4 possibly.
Okay. And then do you have any kind of goal dates for phase 2 or, no, I'm sorry, phase 3 with the activity center?
What kind of?
Like timeframes?
I would consider the design of that once we get under construction of phase 2, which I think I said summer of 2027, moved into 28. That's when we would enter the design phase for that. And hopefully, on the heels of the design phase, we'd be moving right into that next phase, which would be 2028.
You mentioned parking. Great idea. Just curiosity, how much parking are you guys?
In phase 2, I think there was 208 parking spaces. Let me see if I can go back here. It's very small on the drawing that I had. Yeah, 208 spaces in phase 2. And in phase 3, I can't see, it's so small.
Phase 3 doesn't pick up any spaces.
It doesn't pick it. That's just going to continuation of what's already there. But that part, the part that is gravel, that is also part of phase 2. They're going to go ahead and pave that and make it so it's will no longer be gravel. I think that's like 80 spaces, or I think.
So that 80 plus the 208?
Yes, that's correct. Yep. Yeah, we kind of did the parking for the soccer field so that it would that's a long way from where that other parking lot is, so we want to make sure we have plenty of spaces for the soccer fields and the pavilion.
Question for you, sir. On this drawing illustration, could you show us the possibility of where the baseball, softball field could go?
Yeah. Do I have a laser
Here,
pointer?
point.
I do. This, well, it's not going to show up on the screen. It's, if you look at the top right of that oval, where the parking lot is kind of to the right of it.
Yes,
Right
sir.
above that, that empty space right there, kind of between the parking lot and 401, that's where one of the baseball fields was going to go. And the second one is going to go on the other side of the community center, kind of the other side of that ring road on the kind of the northeast portion. That, there's kind of a grayed out area.
A great area, I see
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I had one other question about cost. 10.4 million for phase 3, is that, did I hear that correct?
That's correct.
And then 10.1 million for this particular phase, but we have some of that covered by Wake County
Yeah,
as well as the
it's a
football field.
grant, the 3.8 of that, it's gonna be reimbursable, so we're gonna have to, pay for it up front. And then, so we're gonna match that with our 3.8, and the remainder of it is kind of how to finish out the soccer fields, which is gonna be the responsibility of the football club.
Not trying to make everything monetized driven, but is there any other way we can cut some costs in regards to sponsorships or additional grants that we have available that we could not have to take on so much of that 3.8, just out of curiosity?
Certainly look into that.
I think that would be
That was
great.
the reason that we went after the 3.8 with Wake County, and we're always, absolutely, we could ask our consultants to kind of take a look.
I would love to hear just another way to eliminate that 3.8 from us if we can. So that would be great to have that conversation.
Absolutely, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Good, sir.
Okay, thank you, Scott, for the update. Any other updates you have?
I would like to give just kind of a quick update on Main Street. Obviously, it's a continuing project that's going on. Fred Smith is continuing to do our punch list items. They've done quite a bit of it, but they still have some things to complete. They keep giving us dates, and sometimes they meet them and sometimes they don't. But really, the things that are down to being finished are, they have one section of the greenway that needs some new asphalt because it got torn up a little bit during construction. There is quite a bit of cracked sidewalk and like handicap ramps and curbs and things like that. That's one of the things that, because that's kind of a lot of handwork and that takes a lot longer to do. And that is the reason that kind of the barrels are still in place, because they need those there for safety reasons. If they have to block a lane, because obviously if they're working on curb right along the line of that, it's kind of dangerous. So there still will be some times when there's going to be lane closures during Main Street, but it will be during the day, and hopefully it won't be all day. I know today was one of those days where we had some lanes, and some of it was Fred Smith, and some of it was like AT&T. But some of the other things that are still left to do, they got to put some of the reflectors on some of the medians, so at night people can see them, they're more visible. And there's a couple of bollards that need to be placed on the Walbrook side of the greenway. And one of the main things that certainly is, I keep telling them about, is the crosswalk lightings are not, some of them are functioning, some of them are not. And that's due to, I think, some of the batteries that were sent with them. That's on the punch list, and that's certainly one of going to be the priorities, getting those things up and running, because you don't want to put pedestrians at risk if you don't have to. And I've crossed that road at some of these pedestrian crossings, and sometimes people stop, sometimes they don't. So we'll have to keep our eyes open for that. But that's certainly one of the things we're going to be doing.
Scott, has Fred Smith been engaging?
Are they engaging? Yes.
Well, would you like me to be more direct, or because I'm trying, has the process with them lately, where they've been engaged, as you have called and reached out in regards to these punch list items? Because we've had an ongoing problem since we've had this project of that lack of response, so I'm just curious if it's a continuation of the same.
They have been responsive to our punch list items. One of the specific ones was like some weeds. There was a lot of weeds that were growing in the median. They did go out there. I kind of walked the median yesterday, kind of up and down, and you could tell that there were a lot of places where they were pulling up weeds. They did a lot of spraying, which means they just died. They didn't pull them up. That's going to be another item that's on my list. I want them to come back out here and do another run of the weeds, and just to get it at least spotless. But before we as the town have to start taking over the maintenance for it.
And have they given a date of completion for these punch list items?
They keep telling us by the end of August. optimistic and hopeful that they will stay to that.
Interesting, yeah, because didn't they tell us mid-August earlier?
Yes.
Yeah, they keep moving the goal line.
And
Yes.
they keep moving the goal line. They, you know, they had told me they're having some problems with their subcontractor, the concrete people, which is a reason that they kind of haven't been out there as much as possible. And yes, we are having continued conversations with them about payments and stuff like that, of what we can do to speed them up. And so lately, I wish they could be better, but I think they're going to get it done. And when it's all said and done, it's going to be a good product.
So I'm not holding you to this, okay? I'm not. But they have shared with you, end of August is the designated time for the completion of the punch list.
That is the schedule that they have told me.
And can you say with your personal evaluation, do you have confidence that the end of August, we will be able to say as a town that we can say we're towards the end of this punch list? Don't obligate yourself to get yourself in any trouble, sir.
I wish I could say with full confidence, but I'm going to say it may leak into September. And once everything's gone, that includes the barrels, the silt fence,
Right.
the pond that's out there.
So for folks to understand, because I know for myself, Eric, I know I bother you about it constantly, but the understanding that all of the orange cones, the barrels, the fencing, none of that can legally be taken up until the correct me if I'm wrong,
DEQ, they're the ones in charge of silt fence.
right, that says, okay, checklist, everything is done, and the town says, okay, the punch list is done and correct, and then, yeah, once the government signs off on their red tape, then all of the orange, so over the color orange right now?
It's potentially the barrels could leave a little area, because that's a safety consideration for Fred Smith and his employees. If they're able to finish that work and they no longer need the barrels, they can take those out. But the silt fence is directly tied to their permit with the state.
Yeah, okay, because that was a learning point for myself too. So just for any frustrations, understand that it's all red tape, government red tape.
Not our government, right?
No, not ours.
Yes.
Any other questions, board? I don't think we have gave them final payment, have we?
That was my question.
And we don't give them final payment till all this is done.
That's correct.
So
There's,
if
that's
that,
correct.
need a
There's a
directive from the
retainage.
board for that, we give you a directive.
Yeah, there's a retainage, and then also when it comes to the punch list, that is considered to be rework, and so there are no additional costs associated with the punch listing. Oftentimes, when the subcontractor is remobilized, that's kind of part of it. They try to schedule concrete when they have concrete going on in other projects in the area, things of that nature, because in some cases, this amount is not enough for a large quantity, so the price will shift on them. And so you experience that stuff doing punch listing where things will be more convenient, but we are holding them to that and trying to get that as documented as possible. We know and trust them to be who they've been.
Say that again?
We know and trust them to be who they have been for us.
Which is the concern.
And so we will continue working all the different angles we've been doing in the past when we haven't been happy with the timelines and the delivery.
The biggest concerns I've heard from the citizens, and we mentioned both of them, so there's no need to harp on them. One has to do with the fencing, the orange fencing that's in people's yards, and the barrels that's in the street. They've done a good job of getting them out of the street lately, but those two things from the public has been very vocal. So stay on top of that. And the other one you mentioned has to do with all the weeds that grows in the nice landscaping we did, and now there's weeds everywhere. You can't even see the landscaping for the weeds, and it doesn't look like a $23 million project when you got weeds out there growing that high. So I've heard a lot of talk about that, so keep on top of them on that. And you said they were cleaning that up some?
They had already made one run at getting out the weeds. They pulled some of them, they sprayed some of them, and which means they just died, they're brown. I think those need to come out too. So that's definitely an item that we're going to continue to be on.
And then at some point, we'll take it over.
That's correct. Our Public Works Department will be responsible for it. moving forward, once we accept the project.
So keep us informed when we take it, when we take it over, so we will know that's not Fred Smith we waiting on, it's Public Works. 'Cause
I am curious about something. If we were to go out and manage the medium, could we bill Fred Smith for our work that we've done?
No, and you could void.
But could we avoid a portion of their,
We could void like the warranty and the
Void the
punch list.
warranty.
We can keep them asking to do it, they won't, since it's a punch list item, they can't charge us, they're not charging us more every time we call them out there.
okay, it's the warranty piece though. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
So, we got a couple business items to do. One of them is the Rolesville Chamber of Commerce MOU. I think Michael McFarland is going to kick that off, so I see him coming up. Michael McFarland, our Economic Development Manager, so if you would, kind of tell us I think that's in our package already.
Yep.
I think I saw that and read that, so, something you've been working on for a while?
Yes, definitely. Good evening, Mayor and Town Board. This is a continuation of the discussion we had in July, where we brought this before the board. And there were questions from the Town Board at that meeting that the Chamber of Commerce has responded to, and those responses are in the packet. A financial document and a year in review of, or sort of a recap of activities. The draft MOU is also in the packet, and tonight, if there's any more questions, I'm here, and Malcolm is here again, the Executive Director of the Chamber, as well as the Chamber Board, Alan Smith, if there are questions. But I think we're just looking for guidance, either an approval or a denial or a continuation, or if there's more questions or more information that's needed, we can look to provide that as well.
Sounds good.
Are you going to present, or do you just want to know if we have questions?
Yeah, there's no other presentation, just.
Everything's
Okay.
in the
Yeah.
packet.
So first is, who has fiduciary oversight of the chamber? So meaning who is keeping track of all of this, rectifying books? You know, because I know there's been some turnover with the board. So do we have a person that is maintaining all of that?
We do. I'll actually call Alan up, but Kalen is our new treasurer, and he is a CPA. Alan and the team, we've come together to build a board that has professional services as a part of their thing. So we're looking for an attorney, we're looking for a CPA. So a CPA is our treasurer now.
Okay, good.
So the documents that you guys will receive in the report will be certified.
Oh, and then how are we accounting for town money as far as being used specific for, specific items in the MOU? How are we accounting for that versus, outside grants, fees, fundraising, all of that, showing that direct division of funds and how they're being used?
Right, so essentially you'll get a report for a lot of what we're receiving MOU monies for our events. And those events will have a budget attached, and you guys will receive that budget and see where your town funds were allocated to specific things within the event.
Okay, and just for clarification, I believe we talked about this last time, but the MOU money is not handed over in one big check. It's as each project comes along. And then do we grant it up front or do we reimburse?
For the most part, reimbursement, they'll have to submit an invoice. There's a few instances where there's some preparation, like, let's say, the Barbecue and Bands Festival. I think in the past, as that's led up to the Barbecue and Bands Festival, there needed to be some upfront money, so that took place like that. For the most part, though, it's reimbursable. And, yeah, so this would just, that pot of money sits in the town's account, and as activities and projects happen, as an event happens, like the Barbecue and Bands, or as the Youth Leadership Program begins and continues, they would invoice us for that specific project, and then we would reimburse and pay.
Okay, and Malcolm, I know that you spoke of this at the last meeting, but what are the chamber's planned timeline to be able to go independent, basically, be self-funded organization?
As long as we carry ourselves with the plan that we have, we're about 2 years out. What you'll see is, potentially, as long as everything goes well with the events that we have lined up, as well as getting more membership on board, you'll see us reduce, our ask based on what we're able to do. And we're being very aggressive with that, very aggressive.
Who's leading the youth leadership this year?
It's still going to be a partnership. We're still going to talk to Tisha only because of her involvement.
Okay.
with it. But Sam will probably lead the charge on that. We have some really, really cool programs that we have planned for the youth on this.
Very good.
We actually,
Oh, my Lord, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
forgot what I was gonna say. So forgive me, programs. I believe that the county is looking to partner with Rolesville and Eastern Wake for AI projects as part of youth leadership. And curious if that is something that the chamber would like for me to continue to take on with a possibility of partnering as part of your youth leadership.
100%. And then the other thing is we're doing, there's an office that's coming available in the space. We're going to flip that into a podcast lounge so that the youth leadership can participate in that as well as members. So, places for them to build content and things of that nature. So.
Michael, I got a question for you. The MOU lists the in-kind office space at 200 East Young Street with the market value, but it was left blank. Could you provide me that figure so that way that
Perhaps
the board?
might have to defer to the town attorney if we figured that number out yet.
And do we need that amount before we make a decision? That's my second question.
Last year, it was about $6,516, I think, so
Remember
this
that.
year, we envisioned probably a couple $100 more based on market rate. We didn't see it going up too much, but it's in that realm.
So in order to account for the market value of providing that rent support, we want to track that on our MOU as an additional contribution that would otherwise be a cost to the Chamber of Commerce. And to ensure that that's tracking in a reasonable way, the adjustment is taking the rent from last year and then adding an escalator that happens to align with the escalator that the town itself has seen with regard to the planning department.
The explanation.
But the final MOU will have that number in there, and then we would circulate this to the chamber to sign off, and then it would come back to the town for signature.
I do have a comment though. From the growth that we've seen from the chamber of the membership from 100 to 165 and now up to 199 shows a testament to your leadership and the guidance and the future of where our chamber can go. So it's good that we still or can have this partnership going forward. But thank you for your leadership and what you have done in the last, 10 months?
Well, now officially next week will be a year because we were 10 months in June. So yeah.
Congratulations on that. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Only thing I will expand on, and I think I heard you say 100%. Maybe I was wrong about that.
I'm sorry, say that again,
On
Ronnie.
the funding, when you asked them the funding question, when you have the funding, I think you said 100%, but I think there's a few items we'll always partner them with, like the leadership thing, that's something we kind of driving, but they're doing it for us, so we'll probably always have MOU for some items, right?
Christmas parade, I think.
Christmas parade is another one that we always probably fund them some for, so it will never be.
Yeah, it's just looking at, bringing that MOU down from
Yeah.
40+ thousand to, a more nominal amount that covers the programs that are specific to, the town, like leadership and yeah.
Yeah, right, yeah, but exactly right, I think we're on the same page, because 100%, I kind of took it that we would never, at some point, we wouldn't fund you no more, but I think we got some things that we.
To your point, those programs are like true partnership programs. I'm speaking more along the lines of call spade a spade.
Right.
Barbecue and bands.
Right.
That's an event that once you do an event the right way, it undergirds itself, and if you manage your resources appropriately, you just move what you've made and on to the next year. But the reason why barbecue and bands is so important for the area is because it becomes a signature event like South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, right? People don't think, you know, when they think South by Southwest, which is a very large festival, they think Austin, Texas, and all the programs that come along with it. We're trying to establish that same thing for Rolesville to create, you know, as we talked about before, economic impact. So if we have an event that, you know, depending on what the police department says we can handle, let's say we cap out at, you know, 15,000. Well, that 15,000 will yield an economic impact about $2.5, $2.6 million per annum. So that's really what our game plan is. So.
And I think the last thing I will kind of do a follow-up question on, commissioners asking about the invoices and how we pay out and stuff. I think just making more clarity, more transparent for the citizens on our side, town side, that comes out of your department, Michael, I think. Yep. And do you look at every invoice and make sure that the payment is appropriate? Because
Yes.
it comes out of your budget, I think, right?
Right.
So
And
you
the
kind
invoices are sent to me, and
So as our representative town staff person, you the one that makes sure everything's kind of all
You're checking off the invoices and receipts?
right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do want to thank you for that, because in the time where we've seen where funds are being abused across this great state, you have been dynamic in your approach to the way that you have managed that. So thank you for being very transparent with that. Is there anything that you guys really would like to see us kind of lean in for you on more as we move forward beyond the motion? Okay.
I did want to just add two quick things in regards to, sorry, I want to lean towards the microphone since it's right here. With regards to the invoicing, we do have those internal controls in place, and so the invoice comes in through Michael, Amy, and myself. We also sign off on those. When it comes to how the money is distributed, we look at the partnership funding in two different buckets. One is going to be towards programs, the other is towards sponsorships. And so when you look at the sponsorships, those funds are usually released in the weeks leading up to the event so that the event can be possible. When it comes to the programs like the Leadership Rolesville, those things happen typically on the back end. And so that's the clarification between the front end and the back end for that. And when it comes to Leadership Rolesville, we know that the leadership of that is in transition, but I wanted to shout out Jamira Lashley. She's over at Rolesville High School. She was one of the teachers and facilitators within that. She's the career development coordinator at Rolesville High School. So she's one of the, she's going to be one of the lead facilitators that kind of transitions over and partners with them to make sure there's continuity in the program. Because the facilitator last year, Ms. Tricia, she's transitioned over with the Wake Forest Chamber, and she's taking on the president job there. And so, but we're making sure that there's continuity for the students with that.
Okay, thank you, guys. With that, I'll call the question. The MOU, entertain a motion to approve or not to approve.
So move.
To approve?
To approve.
I got a motion to approve. Is there a discussion? There's a second first?
I'll second.
Got a motion second. Is there any discussion, further discussion? Not hearing it. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. Ayes do have it. Motion approved. Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming out tonight, Malcolm. Appreciate it. Be good seeing you out tonight. Thank you. Next item is personnel policy amendments. Cassandra Wright, I think I saw her. Yeah, there she is. If you would come up, kind of tell us what you got going on.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. My name is Chandra Wright. I am the Human Resources Director for the town, and I'm coming before you tonight to ask that you will approve some modifications to our town personnel policy. In your packets were all of the highlighted changes that have been made. I don't have a presentation for you tonight, but if you've got questions about any of those changes, I'm happy to address those. There are 4 sort of key or larger changes that we're asking for. The first is to discontinue the practice of offering benefits and accrual to our regular part-time employees. That is a small group of folks. The people that we have on staff right now, we are proposing that they retain and keep their benefits for the duration of time that they are here, but for any new people that we hire to replace people who are leaving, we would like to discontinue that practice. I think it's fiscally responsible. It's sort of above and beyond what is customary for part-time positions, and we want to make sure that we're being responsible with the town funds.
Chandra, how many people are,
Currently receiving those benefits, I believe it's 2, if I'm not
Two
mistaken.
part-time.
It's a small group.
okay.
How many part-time positions do we have across the board in, within the town?
There are a number of part-time positions. However, we do make a distinction between those that are benefit eligible and those that are not. So I believe it's just a handful. It's no more than 5 positions that right now are targeted as part-time eligible for benefits.
Well,
We
and
just have-
if it's only a handful, and I know that they would pay a portion, it would only be a prorated amount for healthcare, what kind of cost savings are we talking about?
I believe it's about $6,000 for the average kind of part-time
Per person?
Per person.
per person per year. That's right.
Is there an hour requirement, like 30 hours a week for,
If 25 is the threshold.
25 is the threshold? So anything above 25, we're required to pay benefits?
And we would identify those folks as full-time.
Well, I'm sorry, say that again. So 25 hours a week plus is considered full-time for benefits?
30 plus.
Oh,
would be
30
full-time.
plus?
Yes.
So right now, it's basically part-time for partial benefits is under 29 hours a week.
Yes. Plus working a regular schedule, because again, we have some staff that are identified as more temporary part-time, and they're not currently eligible for benefits.
Yeah, it's just knowing the work environment that is at play, in our economy right now, and how difficult it can be for some folks to find full-time work, to be able to have access to a handful of benefits, I think is very important. And it doesn't seem like it's a significant, cost saving for the town. Whether or not they utilize it is up to that person, but if somebody is utilizing it, they really need the help with healthcare benefits, which is really, I think, the biggest.
That's probably the largest dollar item, and that's why we are proposing that folks who have it will continue to be offered those benefits.
Question, from a other municipality perspective. I know what happens in corporate America, but from other municipality, are we the outlier, or are we one of a few outliers that pays our part-time employees?
I believe when I looked, there were only a handful of other municipalities that are offering benefits to their part-time
Would you-
employees.
How many places did you look at?
I believe out of about 40, there were 17.
17?
Just out of curiosity, what was the size of those municipalities, do you know?
It ranged from, I believe it was 10,000 up to 25,000 was the population size that I looked at.
Thank you.
What was the motivation for removing the benefits? Was it purely financial?
It is primarily financial, so that we're not out of step and out of line with other neighboring municipalities and even other part-time employers.
You said primarily, so what else would it be?
That's primarily what it is. Yeah, there's not really any other motivator.
Yeah, I mean, in the private sector, you don't get benefits of part-time, so but I'm also more curious about how many other municipalities are playing the game, so thank you.
Next item that we wanted to put before you is the removal of compensatory time from the personnel policy. What we're proposing is that employees, instead of accruing compensatory time, will be paid overtime directly in funds, in cash, or per their check for any hours that they work overtime. So we're not suggesting that we don't pay them. We're just suggesting that we no longer offer the ability to accrue comp time.
Can you explain comp time though to me? I was just getting kind of confused about it. So what is the current policy and how does it work with an example versus what is being proposed today?
So if a employee who is non-exempt, so they're eligible to be paid for overtime, if they work, for example, 5 hours in excess of their 40-hour schedule, with compensatory time, they could bank that 5 hours and use it at some point in the future
Like for vacation time?
for time off.
Right, okay, yeah.
For some time, at some point in the future. If they were paid directly, sort of hour for hour, within the pay period that it was earned, we would pay them at time and a half for that 5 hours that they worked in excess.
So would they, do they currently have the option to bank to be able to utilize for time off or basically be paid out at time and a half? Is that how it is now?
So they could be paid out, yes, or they can bank it. The problem comes with sort of kicking the ball down the field into the future, because as employees stay with us, their earnings increase, their salary increases. Now that 5 hours perhaps cost us 1 hourly rate this year, 5 years in the future, that same 5 hours will cost us more because the employee will be earning more and we have to pay it out at the rate in which they.
And there's no
decide to
max.
use it.
I'm sorry, there's no max on how many they can accrue right now?
I believe they can roll over 100 hours.
So somebody can leave in 5 years with 100 hours that you're gonna pay them X dollars more an hour for.
Couldn't we cap it so that they couldn't accrue more than 80 hours or something? And it seems like I get if you earn 100 hours comp time today and cash out 5 years from now, it might cost more than paying overtime, but otherwise, the overtime is more expensive, paying out directly.
The overtime perhaps is more expensive today, but it's not more expensive in future dollars.
Depending on cost of living increases, what have you.
So you're proposing to do away with comp time altogether?
Sometimes we'd like to encourage our hiring managers and supervisors to either allow employees to take some flex time. So if they worked 2 or 3 or 5 hours over, they could take that time off in that pay period, or they can be paid out in that pay period.
Who would determine how that is done? Whether it's they take a few hours flex time or if it's overtime pay?
We would expect the department director or the managers to work with the staff to do that.
Okay, because my concern would be, for whatever reason, they're not approving overtime, but yet this person has, say, 5 to 6 hours. Because I just see this happening a lot with Parks and Rec, with police and fire, and public works, just because of activities, right, that the town holds. So if they're not able to take that flex time, just because, and I know some departments are so short that is not a reality, I wouldn't want to see anybody being pressured into trying to take that flex time when their workload is already so high, instead of giving them the time and a half. So, I mean, the employee should have a say as to which way they want to
That's right.
take this, not somebody else dictating it to them.
Yes, so that's why we say we would expect the supervisors to work with their staff to ensure that there's adequate coverage, that they're not creating sort of a backlog if they're allowing people to take time off, so that the work is maintained. The employee would be able to have a voice in which they would prefer.
Well, the other piece of this is that if they're required to get paid out on overtime, they're getting a higher paycheck, so they're getting taxed at a higher rate. So the overtime may not be worth it depending on what their taxable rate is.
And they will be
far better off with comp time to put it in on a short week so they get the normal pay and don't get taxed at a higher rate.
So right now, our police and fire, and I'm maybe making an assumption when you say a short week, that to me sounds like police and fire, because they have those alternating schedules.
Whoever, yeah.
They don't currently accrue comp time right now, so it's would be largely Public Works and Parks and Recreation.
Oh, so are police and fire,
Right now, they are paid
all of the everybody in the department, they're,
overtime reflects.
so not comp time?
That's right.
So there's a, so if the fire department, has to work extra because of a festival, they automatically get just overtime pay? Okay.
Next is an increase to the tuition reimbursement. So right now, we have that identified for $1,000 per employee per year, and we'd like to increase that to $3,000. Obviously, tuition and college costs have increased over the years, and so we want to remain competitive so that employees can continue to pursue higher education, and we're offering them a competitive incentive for that.
Just curious, why 3,000, why not 5?
I'm not sure exactly how that number was arrived. That was a number that was in place when I got here. So I would assume that someone looked at our area community colleges, at our area universities to pinpoint a number that was reasonable.
How many employees historically use this benefit annually?
I don't have those numbers, but I'd be happy to get that for you if you would like.
I signed off on those. Last year was 3. Just 3. 1 out of finance, 2 out of finance, 1 out of administration. As far, and by administration, that's communications, and then also general administration. So it's 3.
Question for you, with this change, does it impact our approved budget? Does it require any,
Okay.
And the fourth change that we'd like you to consider is to remove language that offers a probationary pay increase for new employees at the conclusion of 6 months of employment. The reason sort of behind that is this is a practice that was in place that the reason for the practice is no longer really anything that we need to be looking at. We used to have to offer 6% or 5%, I'm sorry. We used to have to offer a 5% pay increase to new staff at 6 months because it was at that same moment that they begin to contribute to the local government retirement system. And that contribution is a mandatory 6%. So the 5% pay increase was put in to offset that mandatory contribution to the retirement system. Now that there's no longer a waiting period to contribute to the retirement system, so new employees begin to contribute immediately from day 1. Therefore, our philosophy is from day 1, we want to offer them a salary that is competitive and that will allow them to contribute. So we no longer need the increase at 6 months because the waiting period is no longer in place.
Is that still mandatory?
The waiting period?
No.
Retirement fund.
The retirement contribution, yes, it is.
So is that in, is a recommendation? Is that a recommendation in the package here, or?
The recommendation to remove the probationary pay increases in the package.
It used to be in there. Now they haven't read it out.
Each of those resolutions.
So it's not option 4, is that what that is?
Yes.
Yes.
Action 4, I guess.
Yes, action 4.
Okay. All right, anything else? Anything else? I think we will do this, board. That's, if you look on page is it?
65? Is that what you're looking at? You're looking for the
55,
most?
that's right.
65.
No, 65, 65. ain't it? 65, you'll see the 4 actions that is being requested us to consider here. Action 1, which removed the ability for regular part-time employees to receive probated medical insurance and benefits. Action 2 was removal of the comp time. Action 3 was increased the tuition reimbursement. And then option 4 had to do with the, I keep losing that one.
Discontinue.
Yeah,
Discontinue the
yeah, there it
practice
is.
of
Discontinue the practice of adjusting salaries. So, so if any one of those 4 we need to get more clarity on, we'll pull any one of those. Does any commissioner have an issue with any one of those actions and want to discuss them more?
I just have another question for one.
Okay?
Ask it now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the remove eligibility for regular part-time employees, you said we currently have 2 that are eligible, but a number of part-time positions. So could any more of those part-time positions also be eligible? Or will it always just be those 2?
It would just be those 2.
Always?
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, but if they
No.
should leave and somebody were to, is that what you're meaning, like, there's only 2 positions that would absolutely qualify, not whether or not they're actively utilizing? Is that
Right.
what you're saying?
Right, out of the entire pool of part-time employees, how many could potentially, taking it off the table if they leave and come back, you know? How many part-time employees could potentially qualify for the insurance benefits as it is today? And there's 2. There will only be 2 as it stands right now.
As those, and just so that I'm making sure that I'm answering the question that you're answering, as those people leave the organization, those positions would no longer be eligible for benefits.
Right, I understand that. And just so I make sure that,
I don't think that your question has been answered.
wait a minute, hold on. The qualifications are that they have to be under 30 hours. Let's say there are 10 part-time positions with the town, and only 2 of those positions are under 30 hours. Is there the potential for any of those other 8 positions?
Become eligible?
Yes,
No.
okay. But if additional part-time positions are added over the years, then those could potentially be eligible.
We would write those positions so that they worked under the necessary hours.
So they would not be qualified, okay. So there would always be 2 from now on until whenever, okay. Okay.
Any other questions? So looking at the 4 action items, and we can vote on 2, 3, all 4 of them. Anybody got any really feel like we need to remove one of them for right now?
I got a question. On the comp time, who's gonna be upset with this? Is it departments? Is it a couple individuals? What are we looking at?
I don't think I would identify it as upset. I think that there may be a learning curve. So I think that departments will have to learn how to manage the time that their staff is working. They'll have to pay maybe a little bit closer attention to the hours that staff are working, but I think that's a good thing. And I think staff will need to get used to being paid out for any hours worked closer to the time that they worked it rather than banking it for later.
Have you done an impact analysis on how much it will affect budgets of individual departments?
Our finance department is aware of the change, and they have put a plan in place for funding of overtime.
To accommodate the change? Thank you.
So the compensation change, one of my siblings went through at her job. It was a learning curve, and it was a shock at the beginning after she had had compensation for so long, the compensatory time. But now she's like, it's just normal. So of course there is that learning curve there. But let me ask this question. What is the maximum number of hours that one employee currently holds in compensatory time, and what is the total number across the staff? Do you know, by chance have that?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, but it hovers just over 100 because that's how much they're allowed to bring over
Yeah.
in any given year. So sometimes it sort of crests over that amount during
Okay.
the course of the year.
Okay.
I mean, can't we set limits to how much they can carry over then? Because, just going from all to nothing, I just feel like there's got to be a middle road there.
So any staff that currently have comp time will be able to maintain it. they'll be paid out for it. And right now, we don't have a plan in place to force them to use it within any sort of time restraints. So we will give them the flexibility to use that time sort of as they need.
So they won't lose it,
Okay.
They're not gonna lose it.
by losing it.
So,
And they
so,
have over 100 hours.
yeah,
A
so,
lot of
and so
people-
just to clarify, just to make sure I understand that part correctly, if you have over 100 hours, you're not gonna lose it.
That's fine.
And if you're not gonna lose it, you can use it at any time you want. And it doesn't have to be tied to the work week that you're in.
You're just not gonna get no more. Right?
I guess I'm just, yeah, I'm to Commissioner Paul's point, being able to rectify everything within that 2-week time period as far as, taking flex time. Well, what happens if it's a Wednesday and the pay period ends on Friday? How are they gonna take that flex time? Or if it just seems to me like it would make more sense financially to be able to keep that comp time to use for hours off, say in 6 months or for the calendar year, versus, making them pay out time and a half to the points that you made, Commissioner Paul.
I do have one more question about that, since we are. From a municipality perspective, I've seen changes like this at Zebulon, Charlotte, Garner, and as well as some other municipalities in Raleigh, around the area. How far off are we from a compensation perspective from our peers? And is this a city or state trend, that you're seeing? Because I am hearing this happen in the government as well. So I just kind of want to get a gauge of where we are in this process amongst others.
So the comp time used to be very prevalent in government employment,
Yeah.
and it is increasingly less so because organizations are realizing that there is an increased cost associated with it.
And you're not losing, you get paid overtime.
Yeah, I
I know, but I'm just making sure that overtime pay happens instead of being forced to take flex time during that 2-week time
Yeah,
period.
in your scenario where it's right at the end of the pay period, it has to be overtime most time I've seen, because you got time to take it off.
Okay,
So
I
if you
just
can't take
want
it
to make
off,
sure
it's
that there's no
overtime.
issues there as far as saying, oh, we don't have it in the budget for overtime, so therefore you must take flex time, and it's like, but I'm,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you shouldn't lose it. I don't
That's a good clarifying statement. So we always paid overtime, right? In some cases, like if 4th of July comes up in Public Works, they say, look, I know I gotta work on this day. They already know that's an 8-hour day. And if it falls in a weird space between the pay periods, like, for instance, you reached out about the cleanup on the parking lot, they were off on the Friday, right? And so they took the time, because the pay period ended at a certain time, they went in, took the day off in advance of the holiday, gave them a chance to rest, catch up, hang out with family, and then they came into work on that day. And so the supervisors do work on that. The occasions in which overtime come about are pretty consistent. It's like your Fall Fun Fest, it's your 4th of July, it's your Christmas parade, it's your blackout dates, your blackout dates, all these things are pretty standard. And then when we get into the inclement weather, the things that pop up, they kind of, we try to be as flexible as possible with that. It really comes down to like communication with it. And so we're obligated to pay people for the time they work.
right.
Right, and sometimes they opt for the flex, and say, look, I work this time, can I just cut out early on Friday? But
So
some
long as
people
the
would rather
employee
have that time
agrees.
back. Some
Yeah,
people would rather have
I'm
that
just
time
making
back.
sure that the employee agrees to whatever that term is and not be strong-armed into one option or the other, is essentially what I'm getting at here. If they're putting in the extra hours, they should have the option to choose time and a half, or if they want to choose flex time. And that's just to protect the employee within that process.
Right.
And that would be done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that we're doing that right now because we have a number of departments who are already receiving overtime. So that's a practice.
The
that we're-
overtime is different than comp time.
Yeah,
Kinda?
Yeah.
yeah,
It is.
it
They're
is.
different,
Yeah.
Different
Buckets.
payments.
Different payments, different
Okay.
ways. So just to make sure I understood you correctly, did I hear you say that we're gonna continue with the compensation and flex choice after this decision we make?
That is correct. Those who have it
Oh, only for those who have it. This is gonna be going forward. Any new hires will come under the new policy, but any people before will be grandfathered in regards of the compensation?
They will not be grandfathered. They will start to be paid either overtime or allowed to take flex time. But if they currently have comp time on their record,
They just won't lose
They
it.
just won't lose it. They just can use it as they,
and they can continue to use it.
but anybody new won't acquire comp time. It'll be overtime.
I'm pretty sure that everything that you were telling us has already been legally looked at and in good standings and compliance with the Labor Standards Act and the NC Personnel Law. So I know that you're covered.
Still would like to see
Mr.
that
Alston, all
tuition.
these items have been reviewed by our labor employment team.
That's why I want to make sure.
Okay.
And then I
Thank
do
you,
have
sir.
a question. Didn't we receive an email that there was changes made to the grievance policy?
There were some, so it was just some clarifying. It was to clarify it. We didn't really change really any of the substance of the grievance policy. We tried to write it in a format that was more clear to any employees who elected to use it.
Okay. So is there anything that we needed to review on that? Because I didn't have an original, and I don't know if it's already updated in the personnel policy where it says updates through 8/20/26. I'm assuming that the change, sorry, my computer's getting wonky. There we go. I'm assuming that whatever that change was, it is reflected in that.
It is reflected in that personnel policy update document, correct? But there was no need to write a resolution because we did not remove or add really any
Okay.
provisions to that. We clarified it.
So then I have a question, and I don't know if it's something that I need to ask or discuss after the meeting, because it's not necessarily directly tied to all of this, but, actually, I'll email you my questions, and then we can talk about it later. Okay?
Great, thank you. So with that, the four actions, we don't have to take action on the four actions. If you feel like one we need to discuss further, I think it's some that is really easy. So, anybody got any concerns with any of the four actions? And if so, we'll take it off and bring it back later. We'll get some more clarity on it.
I
know it's
personally have a
cut-
problem with the part-time benefits.
Part-time benefits? Was that number one?
Action one.
Action one? I think it's
Yes.
action one.
I don't know, I'm not looking at the
Action
right.
It
one.
was action
It is
one.
It's action one.
Number one.
Okay. So, so any other ones anybody got concerned with? If not, I'll entertain a motion on action 2, 3, and 4.
I move to approve resolution making technical changes to the personnel policy actions 2 through 4.
Okay, so I got a motion second.
Second.
A motion second, any further discussion? Not hearing it, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sound like the ayes have it. Ayes do have it, motion's approved. So 2, 3, and 4 is approved. Now let's talk about action 1, so we get clarity on that. Do we want to vote on action 1 and see where the vote lands, or we just want to send it back for some comments on changes? How did board want to handle action 1?
I say we vote, Mr. Mayor, but we also need to have any questions that the commissioner has, so we can get those addressed, and I would like to, but if not, I think there's no need to kick the can down the curb any further, sir.
Yeah.
I don't see where it's a cost savings if it's only limited to a couple of people, and that can make all the difference in the world to those 2 people who actually need these resources when it's so difficult in today's time frame, with the cost of insurance. If they can even get a little bit of help on that by working for the town here, I don't see a significant savings, and all it would be doing is hurting, a couple of people that actually utilize it and need to utilize it.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Chandra, but they are grandfathered, so they will not lose their current benefits. It's only if we hired someone else
Anybody
to
new, right?
replace
Yeah,
them.
and they don't necessarily have to participate within the benefits, but if it is only a couple positions where that would actually come into play, then I feel that, you know, as a town, leave it be.
But essentially, we are.
Yeah, but I'm saying to the next person that takes that position, if they need to utilize healthcare benefits, for example, having that option there, we're going to, you know, it's just going to be a draw for a better qualified person too.
But let me make sure I understood this correctly, because I'm a healthcare advocate, but I also heard you say that the hours would be thus that they wouldn't qualify for benefits anyway, in the part-time.
They would certainly be under the 30 to be considered full-time, and we could make efforts to keep them under the 20 hours. So that they were not eligible.
So then that's making it more difficult though, correct? Because you're really doing it for two people out of the grand scheme of the 100+ employees that we have.
So without getting into the details of the positions themselves, was there any, was this an incentive to hire people, to give them this, even though the hours were lower than full-time? And does that, if it was, does that motivation make sense in the future, where Commissioner Burnett's point makes a lot of sense?
I believe it used to be more of a common practice for municipalities to offer benefits to their part-time staff.
Yeah.
And again, just as times have changed, that is something, and the costs honestly have increased on healthcare. The cost goes up each year. It's something that people are looking at a lot more closely.
So is this a longevity of employment issue more than anything else? The fact that these individuals have been here a long time, and that...
Absolutely, we certainly don't want to take anything away from our current staff.
Understood, but
Right.
just trying to find out why they were given it in the first place, and it's just because it was a long time ago, and it's cheaper.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. And towns, you know, they, so whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's up to vote of the board. I would say y'all kind of collaborate, figure out if y'all want to bring it back to the board in the future or something.
I don't think why we have to wait, Mr. Mayor. I think we can put this to a vote.
Oh, if board wants to put it to vote, we will.
I
If
think that's the right thing to do in this scenario.
Okay, if that's what the board wants to do, you guys want to put it to vote?
I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make a motion.
So move.
You made a motion of what?
I was going to make a motion to deny the approval of
Action
What was
one.
it? Action
Action one.
one, thank you, because I don't have that proper list in front of me. That was my motion, was to deny
Okay,
further action on.
so
Whose motion goes first, Mr. Mayor? What motion goes first?
who went first, clerk? You know. He did? All right, so your motion, what do you make your motion?
To move forward with the or for action one.
I got a motion to approve. Is there a second on approval?
Wait a minute, so you're making a motion to approve it,
Yes.
and you're making a motion to
Yeah.
disapprove?
Mine
Just
was
to
to
clarify,
deny.
I think Linwood's motion is to approve that we won't pay.
To do away with
It's
it.
a motion to approve what the personnel department is. So, it's a motion not to do it. So is there a second to Linwood's motion? All right, that motion dies, so I hear next motion. Does someone else want to make a motion?
I make a motion to deny
Action item one.
action item one,
Action one.
action one, in the personnel policy changes.
I got a motion to deny. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I got a motion second. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Sounds like the ayes have it. Ayes do have it. You lose that one.
Aye.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is legislative hearing. We've been going an hour and a half. Is the board okay? Continue? All right. So legislative hearing, REZ 25-06, GovWell and REZ 25-001 and ANX 26-002 Wake Med rezoning and annexation. Stephen, I see you up there. You taking that off? I'm gonna hear, first of all, I'm gonna hear any comments from staff, and then I'll take any comments from the applicants, and then I'll open up the public hearing for any comments from the public. So it's all you, Stephen.
Mayor? Okay. This in. This wasn't working, and this is.
I think you moved.
Advance to the next page.
Yeah, if they don't get it right quick. We're gonna let them work on this technical issue for a minute, so we're gonna take a, probably about a 10-minute recess. So let's come back at 8:15. 8:15. Thank you, board. Appreciate it. Okay, we will call back to order the Rolesville Board of Commissioners meeting. We are on item 10-A, legislative hearing, and I think you got everything working. All right, Stephen, it's up to you.
All right, so this is the rezoning and the annexation for the Wake Med project. It's 4801 Burlington Mills Road is the address. It's about 31 acres. It's currently zoned low-density residential. It will be a conditional highway, a commercial highway conditional zoning district with the proposed use being hospital. That's the use in our table of uses. That's the closest land use that matches. And it's contiguous voluntary annexation. So you see in your packet there were 7 listed conditions. I believe Dave has vetted an additional one, which I will explain. The first one is a list of prohibited uses. The second one is just compliance with the conceptual plan, which you'll see tonight. No more than 40,000 square feet of gross floor area for any non-residential use. 150-foot setback from the adjoining Barrington subdivision properties. A maximum building height of 55. A perimeter buffer with a Barrington Hall Drive, which would be a minimum of 50 feet, and a 50-foot undisturbed buffer along the common property line with the Barrington Townhouse open space lot. The 8th condition, which I don't know if that was circulated to you, which I received late this afternoon, has to do with extending, having a buffer of the ambulance area that is equal to our loading standards in the code, which is a pretty substantial buffer. So it's increasing the buffer between the ambulance loading area and the street, because otherwise there's a break. When the street comes through, it leaves a break in that buffer yard, and the street yard is not very robust. So
You said you're increasing the buffer between the street.
yeah, they're committing to matching the loading standards in our code.
50 foot?
I don't believe it's a distance, it's just a landscape provision.
Commissioner Lenwood, Commissioner Long, the provision in the LDO that I reviewed and the condition that I reviewed used the term screening, And that may be the term that the board is most familiar with, the idea of screening, loading, and unloading areas. So while that may or may not have been applicable to the hospital drive, the condition that I reviewed, that I assume is now being proffered, is one to treat that area as though screening was required as provided by the LDO.
Thank you for that clarification. This next slide has to do with compliance with the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plan identifies the area as civic and commercial center. The civic uses include institutional uses, and commercial center includes conventional commercial uses along primary corridors. The Rolesville Transportation Plan provides for a Burlington Mills Road 4-lane divided section with curb and gutter, bike lanes, and sidewalk. Granite Falls will have a 2-lane section with 2-way left turn lane, curb and gutter, bike lanes, and sidewalks, and the Greenway bike plans on both sides of the frontages. So this would, as these roads get built out, they will be built to those standards.
For how far out? Because as we all know, the middle school, it's a virtual parking lot twice a day, and it's not rush hour, so it doesn't fit in the transportation plan.
Yeah, this applies to this property, so any portion of these roads that the development is responsible for, they will have to build to those standards.
Doesn't alleviate the problem down the road a little tiny bit.
This time. A traffic impact analysis was prepared by Stantec. Matt Peach is here, should there be any questions regarding that. But the total weekday daily trips was 1,550. So in terms of comp plan consistency, hospital use along with proposed conditions of approval define a project that is consistent with both the civic and commercial center land use categories. The concept plan illustrates side paths and bike lanes along Burlington Mills Road, as I just said, and the town is prepared to complete Granite Falls Boulevard in the next year. So I've got several proposed motions. Two of them have to do with the rezoning, and then one with the annexation for your consideration. And with that, the applicant is here to speak to his proposal.
Okay. Any questions for the staff?
Steve, what's our current maximum building height limit?
I don't know that offhand.
I mean, in general, or just for the
They're proposing 55 feet. I don't think we've approved anything that high yet. But
60 feet is the max for, and that is actually the highest, or the tallest building allowment. I was looking through all this earlier. Yeah, the commercial highway district, I do have questions with. Because general commercial is 35 feet. The only other one that is 60 feet is business, industrial, and technology. And general industrial.
Thought we approved 45. What's cobblestone? Do you know, April?
I thought it was 60, or pushing 60.
Cobblestone's town center with like 4 stories, which typically is
Well,
not.
60 feet, I Googled it, is typically 4 to 6 stories. So cobblestone has 4, yeah.
So is this outside of the, you said this was highway zoning?
Commercial highway.
Commercial highway, is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
So it's 55 feet outside of that, or is it within? I mean,
Don't know that standard offhand.
I mean, it wouldn't be in compliance if it was outside, right? You mean, you wouldn't bring it to us if it was outside of
Yeah,
what?
I mean, yes, it must be 60 because we're not allowed to go above and beyond, so the conditions would only restrict things.
Yeah, the commercial highway district, it's a max of 60 feet with sprinklers.
Yeah,
for
so,
building height.
it wouldn't be in front of us if it was outside of that.
They're restricting it by 5 feet.
By condition,
By condition.
that's right.
Can you just clarify the 40,000 square foot meaning? Is that like total development of the property, or is that per building, or are we talking about?
That's the building.
The ER? The ER, the standalone ER?
The total development of the property
Yeah.
is 40,000, inclusive of all buildings,
Yes,
all buildings.
yes.
Which is the ER, which
Which
is
is
the
the ER,
only
but
thing before us right
but there's
now.
also other buildings that they're gonna be promoting as well as part of this. Is that like correct? This is not just the ER?
One building proposed on the concept plan.
Yeah.
So
the
the
ER.
one building, the ER building is 40,000 square feet, correct? Okay.
This
Any
is
other
before us
questions?
now. This is before us right now.
That's the question.
Okay,
That's where the question came from.
if you would, step up, introduce yourself, who you represent.
And then, how do you have that on, do you mind? Oh, I'm sorry. Getting used to these microphones. Good evening, Toby Coleman with Smith Anderson, here on behalf of the property owner and applicant, WakeMed. Thank you for your time this evening, and I will endeavor to try to answer the questions that have been raised and do it in as efficiently as possible, which may take a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but I'll try to keep it there. So this is a proposal, this rezoning is really to facilitate the, what WakeMed calls a healthplex, essentially a standalone emergency department. See there sort of the basics of it. It's a 12-room facility with imaging services, lab services, a designated ambulance area. Most of the patients are treated and sent home. This is the place to go when you have broken bones or other sort of urgent medical needs that typically, right now, people are driving 20, 30 minutes to go to other healthplexes or to the hospital for, and provides sort of local access to a much-needed facility here in town. The reason that WakeMed is looking to do this is it would be the first facility of this type in Rolesville, would serve about 18,000 people a year, 50 people a day, would help both residents of the town as well as other folks in northern Wake County and the surrounding counties. And again, we expect that most people will be coming by car. That's based on the experience of the other healthplexes in the county. There will be some ambulance traffic, but it'll be like 10% of the total traffic. Just to give you a sense on how this fits, this is WakeMed uses a hub and spoke model. The red there are the hospitals, and then you have the ambulatory network, medical office buildings, and then the yellow are the healthplexes, circled the Rolesville one up there at the top. There's 3 current healthplexes, one in Briar Creek, one in Wendell, and one in Apex. Then we're proposing this one, and then there's another proposed down in Fuquay Varina. These are sort of the way to sort of get some services out to folks without bringing the whole hospital to you. This is I just want to emphasize that this is really in line with WakeMed's overall mission, which is to improve the health and well-being for the community while providing outstanding and compassionate care to all. WakeMed is a nonprofit entity. It's been the county's health system for the last 65 or so years. And so really what we're looking to do is improve the health care for folks here. WakeMed does a lot of community benefits, a lot of charity care, and just in the last year, almost $100 million in charity care, and provides other community benefits that stack up over the years. In terms of the overview, to get to a question that Commissioner Long raised, this zoning is just for the ED. So, in other words, it will only allow up to 40,000 square feet of non-residential space. And we envision that'll be a single building, about 36,000 square feet. What we've done and I'll go into this in a little bit more detail, but we've added zoning conditions to really address some of the concerns we've heard from the neighbors in the Barrington subdivision, which is immediately to the east. So a couple of ones that I want to highlight are, there's an extra large minimum building setback of 150 feet. The larger landscape buffers along the perimeter of 50 feet in width. And then the other thing to note is that this does not open the door to additional development. If there was additional development of any kind on this site, we would have to come back. The way the zoning conditions are written, we'd have to do a new rezoning. You know, we may be keeping the same sort of commercial highway designation, but the idea is when we started this process, we wanted to make it clear we are asking for an emergency department only. And if there's future development, you know, if things took off and there was a need or a desire for additional services, we would have to come back. We'd have to go through the same process with the neighbors. We have to go through the same process with Planning Commission and the Board and the Board of Commissioners. So that's the idea. That's the way we structured it. One of the questions we got a lot from the neighbors, so I just wanted to address it quickly, is why here? Why can't you do it somewhere else? And you know, there's a lot of reasons for that, but we just wanted to highlight a couple. It's one of the few large undeveloped tracts that's sort of designated for civic and commercial use under the town's comprehensive plan. And it's also right next to the existing downtown opportunity zone, downtown residential zone, which is outlined in purple in this map. So we think this is an excellent site. It's located sort of in the central part of town near the central business district. The other really important part that a lot of other sites didn't quite make is it has good road access. So recognizing that we've heard some concerns about road issues on, you know, like around the schools, but these are, you know, it's at the intersection of two thoroughfares. The existing Burlington Mills Road, and then the southern terminus of Granite Falls Parkway, which will be constructed in part as part of this development. We have met with the neighbors a couple times and had other conversations outside of neighborhood meetings. And you know, we heard a lot of concerns from neighbors. I'm sure you'll hear some again tonight. I would put those into sort of generally 4 buckets. One was, if you're gonna be here, move the healthplex as far away as possible. We've been working on that. The zoning condition sets sort of a minimum standard of 150 feet, but as I'll detail, we've been working to try to figure out and do more than that on top of that. We also were asked, can you provide us additional buffering? That's where the perimeter buffers and other things come in. Can you help address our concerns about, we don't want to see it out of our backyard, and also concerns about light impacts, noise impacts, things like that. We're also asked, how can you help us if we're gonna have an emergency department here? There's a lot of concern about ambulances coming in for, you know, a facility that's gonna be open 24/7. How do you address that? How can we address that? And then finally, we heard about traffic. You know, concerns about not just Burlington Mills, although, you know, as been noted, the TIA found generally that there wasn't going to be significant impact on existing traffic on Burlington Mills. We also heard a lot of concern from the Barrington neighbors about how this was going to impact them, because that portion of Granite Falls Parkway that is supposed to go through Barrington has not been built yet. It's something that's on the town is going to do, but we did hear a lot of concerns about, oh, now you're bringing this traffic through to us. And so that was sort of one of the things we talked a lot with the neighbors about, and the town got involved and talked a little bit about the town's plans as well. In terms of the minimum setback, so you can see here, what we've done is establish a minimum 150-foot building setback, which is that black north-south line. And it is zoning condition number 4. The idea there is it's about 6 times what would normally be required under the LDO. And the idea there is just to set a minimum, that the building can't get too close. But what we always told the neighbors was, we will try to get further away from you, but we don't quite know what that's going to be, because we need to do additional work, geotechnical surveys, to figure out what we can do. I think, as has been mentioned in all the meetings, and I know this is something that you all are familiar with, there's a lot of rock around here. And so we didn't want to make promises we couldn't keep, which is why we set a minimum 150-foot standard and said, we're going to work to move it further. And so ever since the neighborhood meetings in the spring, Wake Med and its team has been doing geotechnical surveys to try to figure out, are we able to move the building further west, away from Barrington? And the good news is the information from those surveys has started coming back, and WakeMed is very optimistic that it will be able to move it further up, further to the west and to the north. Exactly how far, we don't know because we haven't done the site planning yet, but WakeMed is committed to doing that and trying to move it as far as possible, both to be good neighbors and to sort of try to address those concerns from neighbors. In terms of the large landscape buffer, basically this was a request from neighbors, again, for as much buffer as possible. The standard would be in the LDO would be 25 feet of landscape buffer. We've basically doubled that. There's two different types of buffers that you're seeing. On the north side of Granite Falls is a large landscape buffer with undisturbed vegetation. Those are because there's existing trees. The idea is we're not going to mess with that. South of basically future Granite Falls, there are no existing trees, so that'll be landscaped. It's going to be a pretty heavily planted area. We took the standard planting requirements and we put in an additional set of evergreen trees as a requirement, 9 per 100 feet. So the idea there is that in addition to having a buffer during fall, spring, and the summer, those evergreen trees will help ensure that they have a year-round opaque buffer. And then finally, we have proposed another zoning condition. It came up, this was a request that sort of came up through the neighbors and some communications with staff about the desire that if we were going to have the ambulance drop-off, currently in the concept plan, the ambulance drop-off is shown on the eastern side of the building. And so there was a concern that there would not be adequate screening for that ambulance drop-off, particularly right here, basically where Granite Falls meets the property line. And the reasoning there is, and so the request was, can you add additional screening for an ambulance drop-off that is there? So we've proposed an additional zoning condition, number 8, that basically provides that for any ambulance drop-off that's within 150 feet of Granite Falls Parkway, so not the property line, but the actual road, we'll have to meet the screening standards that are in the LDO for loading docks or other sort of things like that. So, and the idea there is that should provide significant additional screening if the ambulance drop-off is there. Again, one of the things that WakeMed is committed to doing as part of the site plan process, if this rezoning is approved, is to look at moving the ambulance drop-off to the other side of the building, which should also help address some of the concerns from neighbors about that. And just so you know, there's obviously a concept, this is all coming from a concept plan that's attached to the rezoning. I want to emphasize, just like, I want to emphasize that the concept plan is not binding in terms of the location of the building. The idea there is it gives people an idea of what can be done, but it doesn't prevent us from moving the building further away. So if you approve the rezoning, you're not saying the building has to be here. We can move the building west. We can put the ambulance entrance on the other side of the building. It allows for all that, and we will continue to work with neighbors and keep neighbors updated about that process. In terms of ambulance noise and sirens, this was a concern we heard. One of the things that I personally learned that I wasn't fully aware of is that Wake EMT, which is the ambulance provider for Wake County, has largely been moving away from having its ambulances run sirens and run its lights. This has been something that's been happening over the last couple of years. The background is basically they found that in a lot of cases it causes more problems than it helps. And so our expectation would be that consistent with other health plexes, most people would be coming in private car without sirens or lights, about 80–90% of people. That means about 5 to 10 ambulances every 24 hours. And based on those standards, most of those ambulances would not be running lights or sirens when they arrive. So hopefully that would reduce the impact of that. Neighbors were very concerned about that, and so one of the things we did was work to connect neighbors with Wake EMS, so they could have conversations directly with Wake EMS about those concerns. Finally, I want to note a couple other things. We heard, sort of, in addition to all the other impacts, we heard some concerns about site lighting, parking lot lighting, and other things impacting neighbors. We looked at, do we need to do a zoning condition? And ultimately what we concluded was your LDO already handles a lot of these issues. So your LDO has a requirement that all the building and parking lot lights have to be cut-off lighting, so they can't be shooting up in the air. There's a restriction, we can't put outdoor lighting within 52 feet of the shared property line. And although parking lot lighting poles can be up to 30 feet tall in the middle of a parking lot, you have a requirement that basically requires the poles go down and get lower as you get to the edge. And so as you get closer to Barrington, the tallest parking lot lighting poles would be 12 to 15 feet. So we felt like that was sufficient to address a lot of the concerns related to lighting. This again is just sort of an overall summary of the traffic impacts. A lot of what the TIA calls for are improvements in turn lanes onto Granite Falls from Burlington Mills, and some turn lanes into the site from Granite Falls Parkway. Again, there's sort of a two-phase set of improvements along Granite Falls that would be part of this development. Wake Med would be doing the improvements for Granite Falls on its portion of the road, of the property. So in other words, from Burlington Mills up to the Barrington subdivision property line. That would be built by Wake Med as part of the development.
Can you show me where that is? Because that was a question that I had.
Sure.
If you all were building part of that.
The portion
That
of
red
the road
part?
outlined in blue
The blue part.
is Wake.
Wait,
is-
the blue
is-
part,
is
okay.
Wake Med's. The portion that's outlined in red is the right-of-way that has been dedicated for Granite Falls in the Barrington subdivision, but for whatever reason, and I don't know the reason, was not required to be built at the time of development.
Right.
And so as a result, it doesn't exist right now. We've had some conversations, and obviously, staff can speak to this better than we can, but it's our understanding that the town does have a plan in place to construct that portion of Granite Falls, has sort of set that aside in your capital budget. So that is a project that the town will be undertaking in the next few years. We did hear some concerns from neighbors about, how can you fit it all, because the Granite Falls Parkway cross-section that the town wants is relatively wide sidewalks, things like that. What was dedicated in Barrington may not be sufficient to accommodate all that. The town is aware of that, as I understand it, and will work to accommodate that in what they've got. So that's about it. We are available for questions. I'll be remiss in not mentioning that I've got Tom Cavender with Wake Med and Andy Curtis with Wake Med, as well as our team from Timley Horn, if you have any engineering or traffic questions. So.
Okay, thank you. Do you have plans for anybody to present anything else, or just answer questions? So before I open up a public hearing, does the board have any questions for the attorney here or anybody from Wake Med? And y'all know Matt, he's the transportation engineer. Anybody have any questions?
Yes.
I hear some.
I have one question. I was still trying to get back to, you leaned into some things why Rolesville was chosen, but I'm more curious of the data that was used, because there was data-driven decisions to choose Rolesville. I heard you say the location of proximity of traffic and those things, but I didn't really hear what numbers were being used to make that evaluation. Would you be speaking to that, or would that be the Wake Med team?
Tom, I can do that.
Because I think that's one of the things that the citizens will want to know is, beyond roads and traffic, why us? So what kind of data was driven to make that decision?
We felt that Rolesville was an underserved area medically, and that with its location and proximity to Wickman North and to Raleigh campus, which is, 30 minutes south on 401, this area needed health care brought to their community in the form of an emergency department to take care of those people in critical need that prevented them from having to travel distances to seek high-level medical care. So it was a business plan based on need of this community and of this region.
Were the demographics included? Was it based upon, seniors coming to the area? Like what type of, again,
demographics,
data?
age, growing population, travel distance, time travel distance on radiuses. We have a corporate planning department that does all of those kind of analytics that drives where we like to place these kind of these highly functional facilities.
And I'm assuming with those analytics, there's like a top 5 that you say, hey, these meet the marks before we do that.
I would say there's those analytics have the top 5, like you said, but there's a little bit of gut anticipation.
Okay.
We know that the Rolesville area is a fast-growing community. I think it's like 8% projected and growing beyond where we are today. And we felt that this was a great location and a great time to bring this kind of service to this community that has the capacity to serve and match the growing needs of this group.
Thank you.
Did you introduce yourself? Did I miss?
I will. Tom Cavender, I'm the VP of Construction and Facilities for WakeMed.
Tom, one follow-up question to
Sure.
Commissioner Long's question there about how it got to Rolesville. I think, you did a good job answering demographics and all that stuff. But it's a competitive process at the state level to get a hospital or its emergency facility anywhere. So it was like a competitive process with several other medical providers, and WakeMed got the approval to put it here. Is that right?
You're correct on a portion of that. The state medical facilities plan has several different categories. One is a competitive process, which is like operating rooms, patient beds, and then there's other services. And these standalone emergency departments do require a CON that got approved by the state. And that the state looks at the demographics, they look at the need and what will this do to this community as part of their state review. But it did include a certificate of need to be able to be awarded this location.
Thank you. Any other questions for Tom? If not,
Oh, I have a couple of questions, but
Sure.
this is probably more engineering related. But I understand that you guys have already been looking at like the soil composition and being able to determine if the site can be moved further to the west side. How much more time is needed to be able to determine the availability of the land use plus and how much more time is needed to determine the feasibility of moving the ambulance bay from the east side to the west side?
I think moving the ambulance bay is something we can do relatively quickly, because what we would essentially do is invert the design and structure. The soil investigations are ongoing. We know that there's a ridge of rock that goes through a portion of that, and we're trying to position the facility to help us with our costs, for sure, as well as position it so it's still accessible on the site itself from future Granite Falls Parkway.
So, and then I guess the other question too is that if we do approve tonight, how do we know, what kind of conditions can we set forth to make sure that this is still being pursued? Because really the ultimate setup would be that the ambulance bay is on the other side and the building is pushed further to the west. If we were to approve today, then you can just say, yep, here we go, we've got the plan, we can't move anything. what insurances would we have that you would still be pursuing changing the location of this to a more optimal site for residents and neighbors?
I think it's a situation where we respect the neighborhoods,
Mm-hmm.
and we respect and the time that, as Toby indicated, the public hearings we had or the neighborhood meetings we had. We understand the challenges that this facility may provide,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll strive to do whatever we can do to minimize and mitigate those. So it's essentially a trust factor.
Okay, and just because I didn't write it down, could you tell me again just how much longer it's going to take with the feasibility studies of the land?
I do not have that timeline for when we'll make a defined position or approval yet, but I know that we're completing all those soil borings as we speak.
Okay,
I would say 30 days, maybe,
Okay.
45 days.
like between 1 to 2 months?
Yeah.
Okay, Attorney, do you have a comment?
I do. Based upon comment by the attorney for the applicant, there was a comment about being able to shift the building and the drives to the west and northwest. The way the conditions were submitted to the town, that's arguably not permitted. That is, the concept plan is the concept plan, and those are committed elements, and drive location and building location is to be where the board is shown it is to be. I would suggest to the applicant and to the town that condition 2 have a sentence added to it, if that's the will of the applicant and the board, that it include the sentence, notwithstanding the foregoing, building and drive locations may be shifted west and to the northwest to increase distances between such committed elements and the eastern property line, so that
So,
we don't close that off.
because you
Where the
answered that
staff,
question
the
then.
staff cannot, even if it's a great idea, and Wake Med or the future hospital that runs it wants to go farther, as written, I don't know that that would be allowed. So I would suggest that small revision, and I'm comfortable with that language as recited.
That is fine. Yeah, we're more than fine with that. We had attempted, and obviously, this is a team sport in a lot of ways.
So
We
I
had
think-
attempted to try to achieve that with the current version number 2, but I think that more clarifies it. Clarifies it better. Excuse my language. The other thing I want to note is that we have been in communication with the Barrington neighborhood leadership, the HOA leadership. And one of the things we've talked about, Commissioner Burnett, is that where the rubber's really going to hit the road in terms of location is going to be with the site plan. And so we've already started talking with the neighborhood about how do we keep you all informed about the site plan process, because it is administrative. And so how do we make sure that they're getting access and seeing that and know that that is there? And so we're committed to that, both because we want to be good neighbors, but also because we recognize that if this site ultimately grows, if there's other things that happen here, we will be coming back. And I would anticipate that if we come back, there'll be somebody with memory here. And they'll be looking at it and saying, if we don't work with the neighbors, you said you were going to work with the neighbors last time. And so we recognize there's long memories, and that there's both reasons as neighbors to do it, but also practical reasons to get it done.
You guys considered a portal for Barrington, just to have them, strictly for them to see development? Well, I mean, it's really for anyone, but to designate for them a portal that will help them identify and see your site plans on the go, so that way, administratively, you don't have to do it consistently, and they can go back to it. And then in that section, us as the board will also have access to it as well. So that way, it keeps everyone informed, it's digitized, and it gives you an opportunity to keep real-time updates. Is that possible?
That's certainly possible. I think I want to talk with your planning staff, because I know that with your new system, a lot of that stuff has become more available through the town system. But
Anytime there's an approved plan or an action by the board, all that gets loaded up to the planning page of the website, so there will be already is probably a growing item for Wake Med, so.
But I'm really just referring to the Barrington, just really is for those leadership that you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have access to the dashboard, but to accommodate their angst, is that something that you would be willing to do, if you will? I don't know,
Yeah.
that's something that the Barrington residents will have to sign off on, but just trying to come up with ways to alleviate some administrative, but also some peace of mind with communication.
yeah, I think that's a great idea, and I think, I was just looking over it at the Wake Med team just to make sure they were comfortable with it, and they are. I think what we'd want to do is figure out, again, work with your staff to figure out what is the best way to do that, to make sure that there's confidence that they're getting all the information and it's coming. I think the more that it can come from the town, and the town can say, this is the stuff that we have in our system as things are going through the process, I think the more helpful that'll be. That's just based on my experience of, sometimes people suspect that if it's coming straight from the applicant, that they're giving you just what they want you to see, sort of thing. So.
Thank you.
Thanks, appreciate that. Any other question?
Matt? How are you this evening, Matt?
Doing well.
Glad.
My name is Matt Peach, Stantec Consulting Services, traffic engineer. Very happy to be in front of you tonight. Happy to answer any questions you may have, Commissioner Paul.
So, have you ever been stuck in the traffic of the parents picking up their children from the middle school?
Yes, I have. Well, my daughter's currently in elementary school, so I do get caught in parent carpool quite often, only at an elementary school.
I'm talking on Burlington Mills Road.
On Burlington Mills Road, I have not.
Okay. I've been stuck there literally for 20 minutes, not moving a single foot. So, and it's a safety hazard. It shouldn't happen, but it does twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
How does that factor into the 1,500 plus vehicles that are going to come in and out of the Wake Med campus every day?
Yes, so.
Because it's not rush hour, 2:20 in the afternoon is not rush hour, so it doesn't factor into your analysis. But it is a huge problem, and my understanding is that someday Burlington Mills will be a 4-lane road. My guess is it's probably not for another 15 or 20 years.
Correct. So there's a couple of different ways we go about looking at that and then those concerns. Obviously, we study both the morning peak and the evening peak, right? The evening peak doesn't overlap with the middle school because the evening peak typically occurs from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., right? So in 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., we actually see better operations along Burlington Mills Road than we do from 7 to 9 a.m. because of exactly the middle school, right? So what you'll see in the study is we do see longer delays in the morning, but that's attributed to middle school traffic, right? Now, what I will say about this facility is that this facility, and please don't quote me on this, but this is a facility that's going to be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I would, from my personal and professional opinion, I would expect to see some staff changes. Would those staff changes occur right when the middle school is running a morning carpool? That I can't say. What I will say is what we studied in the traffic study, and you saw it on the earlier slide, was actually a medical office building. The reason we did that was because as part of the LDO, during any rezoning, we're required to study a range of uses that are proposed, and we intentionally select the highest generating use. So there is data that says that a freestanding emergency department generates so much traffic. It's actually less than what we studied in the traffic study because of the way the LDO is written. So we study medical dental because not only does it generate more traffic throughout a day, it generates more traffic during those peak hours. So we wanted to kind of get the highest generating impact during that AM peak hour because we know operations along Burlington Mills Road is not great whenever the middle school is in session.
Yeah, and my concern is that parent who has a child with a broken leg or broken arm, and they get stuck in that 2:20 in the afternoon traffic and can't move, and there's no way to go around it.
Yes.
And no way to turn around and go backwards. So that's not a statistic for your TIA, it's the fact that's gonna happen at some point if there's nothing to remediate that.
That is correct, and that is definitely a concern. I will say that the Granite Falls extension will help in providing another route, right?
Of course, and not for someone west of the Wake Med Center on Burlington Mills.
That is also correct. So yes, west of
Again,
there, the
but-
connectivity is not as great as it is to the east.
Okay. That's all I got for you. Thank you, sir.
I have a
Any
question.
questions? Yes,
Do
ma'am.
you have a question?
No, go right ahead.
Okay, so, in the past, when the traffic analysis were done, they were based on 2% growth. And
That's
then
correct.
this one I saw 1%.
That's correct.
Why is that? I don't want to speculate.
Yeah, so historically, we have chosen 2% in Rolesville because, as you know, Rolesville is growing. In this instance, we chose 1% because of the excessive amount of development in this area, right? Not only do we have Walbrook, we have Walbrook Flats and other kind of developments in the area. So we intentionally chose a lower kind of background growth rate, if you will, because we are accounting for so many known developments in the area. Pierce Farm, there's a few others.
Is that like catch up numbers, CATCH, catch up, not catch up? Is that like, because the pool is so big right now, is that why 2% wasn't used and the 1% was?
Because the known developments are so large.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Well, I heard the applicant talk about an 8% growth rate, and that was the part of the attraction to be here.
Yeah.
And then you're using a 1%. There's a little
Well, a 1% flat rate applied to every, intersection in the study area. But on top of that, what traffic we know is coming from, the Pierce Farms and the Walbrooks and et cetera, we factor that in too. So the actual growth rate is much, much higher.
Yes.
Now, I will say, Commissioner Sneed, we studied an opening year of 2027, as that was what was directed to us. So using a 1% versus a 2% growth rate isn't going to make a substantial difference in the
Right.
results because of the short time horizon.
And those other developments, all of those other developments were already factored in, you said?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you all.
Any other
Good to
questions?
see you, Matt.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Not for the staff, I'm gonna open up the public hearing. Anything, closing comments from the staff before I open up the public hearing?
No, sir.
Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, I will open up the public hearing. And this is for legislative hearing RZ 25-06 and RZ 25-0001 and ANX 26-002. We have one person to sign up, and Terry Keenan, come on down. We limit to 3 minutes, but being we don't have one person, it's not really a lot of people to speak. So, but keep
Depends on what you say, Tony.
Keep it brief as possible. Thank
Keep
you.
it as brief as possible. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. As most of you know, my name is Tony Kenyon. I'm a Rolesville resident. I'm a Rolesville business owner. I'm also the Barrington HOA one of the Barrington HOA directors. I want to begin by making one thing very clear. I support Wake Med coming to Rolesville. Our growing community deserves timely access to high-quality emergency care. My concern tonight is not whether we need this facility. My concern is whether the zoning decision being made tonight adequately protects our community. Not only for the project being presented today, but for the future. I have 3 specific questions. May not ask all 3 because a lot of those were already answered. Jen kind of was all in my Kool-Aid. First is traffic. The traffic impact analysis summary shows conditions at Burlington Mills Road and Old Burlington Mills Road, Walbrook Flats, is changing from a level of service E with 44.3 seconds of delay in the no build scenario to a level of service F with 61.6 seconds in the build scenario. The more detailed analysis also shows the southbound left turn delay increasing from 98.3 seconds to 144.3 seconds, while remaining level of service F. Yet, the report ultimately concludes that no improvement is required at this location and that the applicable town standard is satisfied. I am not a traffic engineer, and I do not want to misinterpret the technical standard. So, before voting, I respectfully ask the board to have their traffic engineer explain how these results satisfy Section 8.E of Rolesville's Land Development Ordinance. Also, to speak to Michael Pauls, if you look at the build LOS at Wall Coves and Burlington Mill, it goes from a level B to a D. That is a decline. I don't know what numbers they use, but that's not great. Second is the commercial highway conditional zoning. I understand that this approval specifically prohibits several uses normally associated with commercial highway zoning. I appreciate those restrictions. However, I would like to know which non-medical commercial highway uses remain permitted under this approval and whether any of those uses could replace or supplement the hospital in the future without another legislative rezoning hearing. If the purpose of this rezoning is to accommodate a hospital and related medical services, I respectfully ask the board to consider whether the permitted uses should reflect that purpose. Second is the commercial highway conditional zoning and the future use of this property. I understand that WakeMed has stated that it does not intend to develop the site into a full-service hospital, and I appreciate that clarification. However, zoning decisions last much longer than current development plans. The traffic impact analysis itself evaluates a future full-service medical center scenario on this property. I also understand that this larger scenario was requested by the town, as he just mentioned, and was not presented by WakeMed as its current development plan. Before voting, I respectfully ask the board to clarify those things and recommendations and to make sure they have been incorporated in the final enforceable zoning conditions. If they have not, which protections are not included and why?
Thank you, Tony. Any other comments from the public for or against? Come on up. State your name.
Wants to tie me down.
State your name and address, please.
Excuse me, sir?
State your name and address.
My name is Elfie Schock. I live at 521 Kenton Mill Court, which is in the townhomes, the towns at Barrington. I respectfully ask that before you make any decisions or take any kind of vote, y'all are invited to come over to our community, which is literally just walk out this door right here, go through the woods, and it's right there, and take a look at the extension. The developer that built, and I'm sure your attorney is familiar with the history, he didn't leave any room to do that extension. When I say he didn't leave any room, it's wide enough for a bike path, a footpath, but I think you would have to take some townhomes and destroy them and take them by eminent domain to be able to get a road through there, especially the one that was proposed initially when you were first given the information tonight.
Thank you, appreciate that.
So please
Thank
come
you.
over and see how much space you have to work with.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Evening, my name is Erin Sullivan. I live at 230 Bridgepoint Drive, which is the very first townhouse where the new extension is supposed to go. I moved to this town, bought my condo or townhouse February of last year. Moved to a small town in a growing area, but just would like you all to consider the fact that having a facility like that in my backyard with the lights and the sirens and everything else is not something that I was looking forward to when I decided to become a citizen of this town. I think that it is going to be a burden on the community as far as the amount of traffic. If the road does go through, it will cause additional traffic issues through our neighborhood. In all of these meetings, my neighbors with children have gone up and presented their concerns to Wake Med. I don't even have kids, but kids are all over the neighborhood. They spend a lot of time in that area, and it's just something that needs to be considered. I'm not a parent, but I am a proponent of the fact that we have a lot of active young children in the neighborhood. So just would like to ask you to keep that in mind for your decision.
Thank you, appreciate that. Anybody else want to speak?
My name is William Easton Johnson. I live at 532 Barrington Hall Drive. And so I'm here to respectfully oppose this proposed rezoning. First, the change is inconsistent with the intent of civic zoning. Civic use land is generally intended for low impact public functions like schools, libraries, etc. A standalone emergency department is a high intensity 24-hour medical facility. A lot of data shows that standalone emergency departments often generate multiple times the daily amount of traffic and use than that of typical civic use buildings. This would significantly increase traffic on residential streets that were never designed for that volume. Our two older children play with their friends throughout our neighborhood, as was mentioned earlier. They often travel among the homes, down to the townhomes on foot, bike, sled when the winter provides us some snow. And this increased traffic would prevent a significant safety hazard for our kids as well as anyone in the neighborhood. Especially with the completion of the Granite Falls Boulevard that's intended at some point in the next couple of years. Second, noise and operational impacts are unavoidable. Emergency departments operate around the clock. They do involve, in some cases, sirens, emergency vehicles, people traveling at high speeds, and high-intensity lighting. Research shows that that residents adjacent to emergency facilities routinely experience noise levels that exceed safety thresholds. Third, there are measurable public safety and crime-related considerations. Studies in urban planning and law enforcement consistently show that high-intensity 24/7 facilities, particularly those associated with emergency medical services, tend to attract increased calls for police services, loitering, and opportunistic crime compared to low-impact civic uses. Fourth, property values or impacts are well documented. Real estate and land use studies indicate that proximity to high-intensity medical or emergency facilities can reduce nearby residential property values by 5 to 15%, depending on traffic, noise, and visual impact. For a lot of families, their home is their primary or largest financial asset. This rezoning would introduce a risk that was not there when many of us purchased our homes. Fifth, from a plan perspective, this rezoning sets a concerning precedent. Changing zoning for a single property to allow for more intensive use undermines the predictability and stability that zoning is meant to provide. If approved, it becomes difficult to deny similar requests in the future, gradually eroding the residential character of the area. Finally, we are not opposed, as has been mentioned, to healthcare infrastructure in our community. Emergency services are essential, especially to seniors, families with young children like my family, both groups that are represented throughout our community and the townhome community. However, location matters. Commercial corridors and areas with existing infrastructure are better suited for this type of facility without imposing a disproportionate impact on our residential neighborhood. For these reasons, I would urge the board to deny this rezoning request. I'm ready to take your questions now if you have any. So.
Thank you very much.
I'm just kidding. I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Sorry for speeding through.
Yeah. Anybody else? Okay. I'll close the public hearing. And a couple of points I think we brought up, I just want to make sure we clarify. And maybe the first one, either Stephen, you or Eric can speak on. The Granite Falls that goes through that neighborhood is not part of this project. That's a town project, right? So I think it was brought up by a couple concerned people that if we didn't approve this project, that's not going to happen, but that's a town project, right? That's not it has nothing to do with Wake Med, pretty much. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Another point was brought up, I think Tony brought up, has to do with the uses. And I don't remember what didn't the first condition address some of the uses that we could be afraid of if Wake Maya didn't go in or something?
I think the question is what other uses that were not prohibited would be allowed.
Yeah.
Go to the table of uses to pull up that.
But what was the
full list.
first condition? I don't recall. I thought the first condition had some things that
It
were
prohibited principal uses, examples such as gas station, shopping center, and vehicle minor services and major service.
So those are probably things that could go in there if it's a highway commercial type thing, is that right?
These are probably the worst offense type uses that could go there if it weren't for this condition.
Right.
But there are many other uses that still could go in, which is their concern.
And I think that was her question was,
Can we eliminate those other uses?
which they are kind of.
The question specifically is, can we just hold it strictly to hospital use? And that's the question. The question is, can we keep it hospital? And can we?
The normal practice is to restrict the other uses that you could otherwise have, but there's no legal prohibition upon just stating a single use. It's just not the normal way that conditions are drafted. You take all the uses one can make under the ordinance and you narrow. You take the use you could make of a piece of land and you constrain it by increasing the buffers or the screening. So you go from broad to narrow. Drafting it that way would be one particular thing, not inappropriate, but I suppose the normal way to do it is you just list all the things you don't want.
Yeah.
Or just the ones you do want.
Or just the ones you do want, whereas if something should happen and Wake Med wants to sell the land, it's only for a hospital use, and somebody else would have to come upon the board to change the ask for a change in the exception on the land, right?
Totally within the judgment of the applicant and the town. The town doesn't have the authority to unilaterally impose conditions, but I suspect that, I don't know. Let Wake Med speak for themselves. I doubt they would have a preference either way.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Let them kind of, y'all heard the question. And then the last one I think I heard, had to do with you, Matt. I think he was called out specifically to come up here and explain this intersection thing and,
And road improvements.
Huh?
And road improvements.
The degradation of certain intersections.
Yes, the intersection in question was the intersection of Burlington Mills Road at Old Burlington Mills Road and the Walbrook Flats access. The statement made was accurate. We are showing increases in delay going from a level of service E to a level of service F. And as you all know, that is a trigger in the LDO for improvement. So kind of the way the report continues is that we evaluated two potential improvements. The first was installation of a traffic signal at that location. We did not recommend that due to the spacing between it and the intersection at Main Street. This is simply too close. As you all know, traffic signals stop traffic. When you stop traffic, you have traffic that then queues back. Our concern was stopping traffic and then having it queue back out onto Main Street and causing cascading delays. And you know, if that gets bad enough, that's what results in gridlock. So we didn't recommend installing traffic signal. The other thing we recommended, because really what's seeing the high delay is the left turns. So we evaluated restricting access for those two side streets to right turns out only, right? So if we say the left turns are really bad, let's restrict access, say no left turns, and let's force everyone to take a right turn because those move more freely. What happens there, as we saw through evaluation, is that we either end up forcing U-turns where they probably shouldn't be forced, right? So if you can no longer turn left out of, say, Walbrook Flats, you have to turn right and then somehow get your way back west on Burlington Mills Road, right? So if drivers were turning right out of Walbrook Flats and they want to go west, they'd then have to be making U-turns down at Main Street, which that intersection for larger vehicles simply isn't really designed for it. So we didn't feel that that was a good recommendation to make. in that sense. So we eliminated that as well. So where we landed was just to say, we'll do nothing, which we understand shows high delays for the left turns. But again, what we're seeing is that it's only tripped in the morning when school is in session, right? So that gets back to your point, Commissioner Paul, about the middle school and the middle school traffic. So it's really only a condition in the morning. We don't really see those level of delays for left turns in the evening. And I would also like to say that, so Walbrook Flats only has one option to come out. The neighborhood actually has other options. They can go up to Main Street and make a right turn out onto Main Street if they wanted to go various places. So the neighborhood does have options to go elsewhere if left turn delays are substantial and they don't feel like waiting to make a left turn.
Okay. Any questions from Matt?
Matt, just, I don't want to come off trying to tell you how to be an engineer. By no means.
Good.
But I think you're giving me great engineer speak. Can you simplify it for me in this capacity, from this perspective, excuse me? I hear all the things that we cannot do, but as an engineer, there's always a way and to improve something. So do you see there's a better way from a traffic perspective that we can increase or decrease the pain of that intersection outside of what the numbers and the data, just in your gut, man? Tell me what you think.
Well, in my professional opinion, I didn't recommend doing anything there. So I see the best path as remaining as is for that specific intersection, right?
Okay.
Like I said, I think if the neighbor's concern is long left turn delays, I think there's other options and alternate routes that they can take. The other recommendations, installing a signal or restricting left turns, will cause second-order effects that I believe are worse than the current condition.
Well, if I recall correctly, and I may be wrong, is we're really constrained to not allow an intersection to degrade from an E to an F. And that's what we have in at least one of them at one of the peak periods. So that goes against our LDO, I believe. The B to D, there's an argument on that, and I appreciate some of that is improved efficiency, but when you look at the time frames going from 93 seconds to 144, I think is one of them that Ms. Kenyon so eloquently stated, that's a problem, and we don't have a solution. I mean, a solution is make Burlington Mills a 4-lane to the west of the middle school. That's not a viable option because no one wants to pay for it. I get that, but that's really what needs to happen.
Right.
And that we need to look at that because we've got an untenable situation that we're proposing with no solution.
Right. Right, and to your point, Commissioner Paul, widening Burlington Mills Road would alleviate a lot of that delay.
Sure would. And I get it. That's not anyone here's problem, but it is because that's creating the problem that we're talking about.
Correct. I mean, what we're presenting is the study or the impacts associated with the development that's proposed, not a greater plan to alleviate traffic along Burlington Mills Road. Yep.
I appreciate that, but it doesn't fix the problem that we're talking about right now. So, thank you.
Which does get back to me, just this narrative of, is there another way to alleviate the traffic? I mean, beyond what you stated, I'm looking for ideas here to really rattle in my head. There's got to be another access way. If there's not, there's not. But, you know, if you're saying that do nothing is the best result, and then we're going from an E to an F, it just seems like there's got to be another way with this project. So what would, ultimately you're saying that this is it, this is the best of what you got. Is that what I'm hearing?
In my professional opinion, having done the evaluation with the constraints that we have, yes, I would say so. But are there potentially other options that would involve things that Wake Med may not be able to commit to? That's always possible.
I'd be interested in knowing what that would look like, just on the table. Because it might be skin in the game that it could help with the neighbors themselves and for us as well. No offense to the Wake Med team, but I'm just trying to think outside the box in terms of eliminating where we can, so thank you. I will be interested in knowing what that will look like as well.
Any other questions for Matt? Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Not hearing you. So those are the things I heard, so maybe I'll call back the applicant. You heard the deal with the first condition where you're eliminating some usages but not everything, I don't think. You may be more familiar with that than I am.
Yeah, we did leave some uses untouched. So for instance, bank use would still be permitted. I'm reading this off, so forgive me. Commercial parking, eating establishment, event center, lodging as a special use, and a neighborhood-sized retail sales and services. And then basically office and medical uses that you would expect, so dental facility, medical facility, hospital. Hospital is a catch-all within the LDO. Basically, any sort of medical services. It doesn't necessarily mean a big white hospital. And professional office and urgent care. So those are the main ones that are still permitted under our zoning conditions, and we would submit that those are all fairly consistent with if you had, again, this rezoning only allows 40,000 square feet of non-residential, period. So there's not a lot that can be done beyond what we're proposing in terms of the ED. We're sort of leaving some of the other uses on the table so that if it came back for more development with a larger plan at some point in the future, that at that point, some of those additional uses could be on the table. If you had a larger development, whether it was, Rolesville Hospital or medical office building, you would probably want some of that other sort of types of uses within that development.
What about another TIA? Would that be required?
Yes, another TIA would be required, presumably would be required if it's triggered, because again, we only have 40,000 square feet. So if you were upzoning to allow for more density and development, then basically the LDO would likely be triggered. Again, you guys would do the analysis at that point. But this was triggered, and the TIA did look at, again, not our plan, but staff did ask that Matt and his team over at Stantec to look at development of up to 400,000 square feet on the site. So there's some information about that.
Does your client have access or option for the rest of the farm?
Are you talking about the other 30 acres?
Yeah.
We do not. No.
Mayor Kern?
Yeah.
Just real quick for Mr. Coleman. If Wake Med needs to come back for a rezoning anyway, given the condition on the concept plan, what is the point of keeping anything other than hospital? I'm not following the logic of that. If you limit it to hospital, then you clear the special use permit text amendment very clearly, because now it's permitted.
No.
And even though we normally write in the negative for restrictions, it would seem to be clearer and cleaner for Wake Med to just say limited to hospital. Then it's permitted, and you're gonna have to come back for a rezoning anyway. You're never gonna be able to do the other things unless Wake Med flips this and turns it into a hotel site that looks exactly like an ER, which would be a really cool hotel.
I'll let you mess with that. I think the short answer is again that I think what we were trying to do was both with this rezoning say make it clear that this is for one use and one use only, but also not make it a rezoning where it was so limited such that it was just in sort of was solipsistic in looking at just that one use. And so what the idea was is that, it's 30 acres. At some point, it may be something additional, and so we wanted to start at least building around in terms of the zoning entitlements as to what would be, what can be permitted and what cannot. Again, it all has to come back to the board, so, if something came back beyond the 40,000 square feet, what I would say in response to, why don't you just make it just a hospital use is, at that point, this same conversation would be on the table. And, the question of, all right, we're concerned about this use or that use could be addressed with more information and more specific knowledge about what might be there.
Is that an argument for addressing the concern and just limiting it to hospital, or an argument against?
Argument against.
Yeah.
It sounds like he wants to, do you want to just leave them on the table for any possible future conversations that you have?
Yeah.
You know that, okay, I already have a bank in, I believe a bank was one of them.
Yes.
In the zoning, so I can now approach banks with certainty that this will be allowed, instead of having to come back later and ask, and it possibly be a no when you already have a bank waiting.
I think the more idea is that this could be, if this ultimately were developed for more than an ED, then ultimately there would need to be more than just a single set of uses as within the rezoning. Again, and this is any zoning district, right? There's no zoning district in the town of Rolesville or really anywhere else in the triangle where it's like you have one use and one use only. It can create issues. And so I think what we were trying to do was be thoughtful about taking out the negative impacts, taking out things that would undermine what we envisioned for the site. So we were using we used a zoning designation that is an imperfect fit, but then we're trying to take out a lot of the uses that didn't make sense next to Barrington and try to leave in some of the uses that play well with a medical office or other things, if such things ever came to pass.
So, to kind of go with the format that attorney tells us we usually use, did you hear you want to take the bank out? You want to take any of those out? Because we can request them to take those out. Do you don't want to? You want to take them out? We can.
I need to review the list again, like the full
permitted list today, what the applicant is proposing.
I guess you said, in case you want to do something else. But I thought this was just going to be an ED and a health clinic. So like, what more else could you do if you're not going to do anything? If this wake med is coming here and we're just going to do a hospital, then I can't imagine it going beyond other hospital health plex.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm sorry, man, I'm too logical sometimes. Please forgive me. But if that's what it's going to be, how come we can't just call that out? You got to come out with reports anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So just make it easy for everyone, in my opinion. It just doesn't, it's not.
It just seems like something else is kind of being talked about or planned, on the back end, when really what we're talking about here is just an ED. So why would you not want to pull out all of those other provisions? Except for, say, medical, physician offices, dentist offices, that makes sense, ER, but,
Maybe an eating establishment, I would submit that, like something within, I don't know, I haven't talked to
But
staff
even so,
about
even that's gonna
a
roll down.
cafeteria within the building.
But a cafeteria, that's.
So wait a
within the
minute, does it
confines.
have to be on that list in order for it to be part of the building? If you had no, okay.
Those would all be accessory.
Oh.
So
Like what they
are we
pointed out.
discussing this amongst ourselves yet?
Hold on, let's see what they're going to propose.
We're happy to discuss that. We may need a few minutes to discuss if the council is willing to give us that time. We obviously don't want to waste your time. We recognize it's 9:30 at night.
Well,
we're
and
happy
that's where, because this might save a few minutes here.
From the time.
Let's, we got a lot to cover tonight.
Just
So,
continue.
so a decision can be made by the board if you want more information, if they need to collaborate or something.
Well, I personally do not feel comfortable approving this tonight without having the exact site plans, seeing the ambulance bay moved, and knowing what conditions the, lay on the west side of the land, you know, about pushing the facility as far away as possible. So to be honest, you know, until, I want to see those things in concrete writing, because just as Dave mentioned earlier, if we approve it now, well, that's what we're approving. So I am not comfortable moving forward with the rezoning tonight until, and to their own comments, it would take about 30, maybe 60 days to finalize, you know, all of the soil tests and seeing if where they could feasibly move the facility to. So within that amount of time, then, that would give time to review the other prohibited uses.
Other comments?
I agree.
They have to request a continuation, don't they? Or we can just use the motion, ourselves, can't we?
The board can always continue.
Yeah. Anybody object to continuing?
Good.
So
Your benefit.
So you guys heard the commissioners, you know, they ask for things. A better site plan on the location of the building, I think. More information on,
Putting the ambulance bay as far apart.
yeah.
Prohibited uses.
And I think that that first condition, really look hard at that. I think that was one of the things that,
You know, again, I don't think we're gonna be in a position until we get to site plan to be able to say exactly where the building's gonna move. I think it's gonna be an addition of a sentence to condition number 2, which has already been outlined by the town attorney. And I think is ready for prime, you know, you guys obviously make the decision, but that's where we are. We're not gonna have the information, all the information ready to create an updated concept plan in, say, 2 weeks or 4 weeks. This is something we're trying to get done as soon as possible, so.
We understand that, but we are also trying to protect the interests of the people that do live in Barrington. And if it's going to take another 30 to 60 days for you guys to determine that, I would rather that happen before we gave a conditional approval on this project that may have some more major issues involved if you can't get it done the way that we're looking to see this project, you know, be completed. So I, in the grand scheme of things, 30 to 60 days does not seem like a long time to be able to ensure these neighbors here that we're doing our best to try to make sure that this is moved as far to the west and the ambulance bay moved, plus making sure that we're not going to get any surprise development going on in the back end of this property that has not been discussed with this project thus far. So there's 3 conditions there, and I, for one, am not, if you want me to vote tonight, then you're not going to like my vote, if that's what you're going to push me to do.
I thought, Dave, your language took care of the issue of the hospital being moved west and north and west.
Commissioners, probably not. It allows them to move. Currently, the way the concept plan condition is written, it commits an applicant when they submit a concept plan to build things the way they show you they're going to build things.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's just a story. And that certainly is something that's happened in the history of zoning law. You see pretty pictures, they're not a commitment. So if there's a commitment to a concept plan, the expectation is that they're committing to that plan, and the language we use allows minor adjustments to those committed elements.
Got it.
When we think minor adjustments under 160D, we probably don't think about what is being proposed as hopefully what Wake Med can achieve. So we want to provide some flexibility so that something that would help the neighbors isn't something that the staff is forced to say, no, you can't do.
Yeah,
That would have been a terrible situation, and that's all I was trying to get to.
okay.
I mean, if the issue, again, I'll be really frank with you, if the issue is that we need to severely cut back the permitted uses, and I can have 5 minutes with my client, I can probably come back with an answer on that tonight. But, again, I think our concern is that asking for more and more detail on a concept plan is frankly getting into site planning issues that we think can be addressed at site planning and doesn't need to be addressed at this point.
Well, you already heard what Dave said, and I don't agree with that. I want to know exactly where this is going to land
Well, and the
before
other-
I give my approval on anything.
The other part of that, Commissioner Burnett, is talking about flipping the building and putting the ambulance station on the west side where it's currently on the east side and moving it north and west. That is a site plan issue that your current one doesn't accommodate those modifications. So,
Well, I mean, that's what we're hearing now. I'll tell you frankly, we've had conversations where we were given different indications than what we're hearing today, but all that to be said, we're happy to add the language that has been suggested by the town attorney to address that very concern. Because we have been working towards trying to address all these issues for months. And, while we can't give you definitive answers now, we are committed to addressing these very concerns. Recognize that is sort of an unusual position to be in, but it is the position we are in. And again, if this board can look at us making the changes recommended by the town attorney, and is willing to give us a few minutes to discuss whether we can further, whether we can address the board's concerns related to the uses. I think we could have something for you today, as opposed to having to wait 4 or 6 weeks. Because again, my main concern is that we're going to get pushed out, and we're not going to have, other than maybe moving a box around, we're not going to have a whole lot of additional answers on specifics on exactly where's the building going to be, how's it going to be, than what we have today.
So Dave, what do we need on the concept plan?
Concept plan is not a requirement. There doesn't have to be that condition at all. The concept plan is something that was tendered by the applicant that commits them to building what they showed you in the picture. However, what they've promised you is, we promise we won't build you what we've shown you in the picture. We're going to build something different than that, that's better, but we don't know exactly where.
Right.
So I was trying to save the condition to allow it to get as good as it might be able to get if that's what WakeMed wanted to do in the future. Because otherwise, the staff, which can only follow the ordinance, is forced to tell the applicant, no, you have to build in the place that angers the neighbors the most, which then causes the elected officials to be very unhappy with the staff and the town attorney.
but the condition doesn't
Force
constrain
them to
them
move
to
it.
do what we're talking about.
The challenge is, it is hard to write an ordinance that says the applicant shall move it to the west or to the northwest as far as they practically can after they find out how far that is, something, blah, blah. It's hard to, I don't know what that is.
So where are we at? I think Jen is asking for a continuation. I'm not sure if the board wants to continue this or not. Where are we at? What's the consensus of the board?
I think at this point, that's the best option. Continuance.
Agree. All right, I would need a motion for that.
I motion to continue Res 25-06 WakeMed to a future town board meeting.
We ought to have a date.
Christie.
October 8th, November 5th. I didn't know if September 1st would be too soon based on the discussion.
I don't know.
Hearing
September
a
1st
repeat
be
back
too
there.
soon?
Oh.
I mean, I would say October 8th, and if Wake Med is not ready to come forward with the conditions that we've asked, then they can ask for, to move it to a later date.
How does that fit our schedule, Eric, October?
Christie.
Christie.
I would say October 8th, and if Wake Med is
How does that fit our schedule?
October 8th, November 5th, look good.
They look good? And you wouldn't be ready by September 1st, would you?
Are you?
That's in
Ask.
2 weeks.
I'm asking.
2 weeks.
We would prefer September 1st.
Okay.
Are you going to be able to have those answers that I've asked, because I'm being told 30 to 60 days before you finish the soil compositions? If it brings us right back to this same place, then I know for myself it won't be a favorable vote. If you cannot provide me with the information that I'm asking for tonight and you want 2 more weeks, just don't bother unless you can answer those questions that I proposed.
Period.
Okay? If you want September 1st, great, make it happen. I suggest you get the engineers out there and start digging in the dirt to make sure that you get the answers that are needed.
All right.
Because otherwise, it's just going to be wasting our time again if you don't have those questions answered.
And I would hope if they don't have them, they'll ask for a further continuance before
Precise,
September 1st.
before the meeting comes about.
Yes.
I mean, again, some of the questions, I want to make clear, the exact location of the building is not going to be determined in any concept plan. It is not, I think, I want to say it again, I've said it before, but I want to say it again. We will try to address it as best we can, likely mainly with the language suggested by your attorney. And we may look at.
We were already told that it was going to take 30, maybe up to 60 days to get that finalized soil report with knowing where the granite is and where it isn't. So what is it? Is it 30 to 60 days? Is it 6 months? What is it?
Hold on, let's kind of settle down a little bit. I think what Dave is saying is the site plan has to be where there's minimum, and he's right, over the years, it's hard to describe what minimum jurisdiction the planning department has for site plan adjustments. It doesn't have to be exact, but I think what he's saying is too far off today, right? It's too far off today. So it's just a matter of somebody used the term flip-flop.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of flip-flopping everything.
That's for the ambulance bay.
Yeah, and they don't really need soil bowling to do that.
No, not
But
for
that's-
that.
But I think maybe you two get together and you describe what, what you call it, minimum adjustments or whatever?
It is my understanding that the applicant is telling us today that 150-foot minimum is the most they can safely commit to. And that's where the applicant has told us they are. I believe that we're also hearing 2 different things based upon something was mentioned by the architect that implied that geotech would be back in 30 to 60 days, and that implied that at the end of that time, there would be knowledge that would allow the 150 feet to be increased.
Possibly.
That could be a significant change to their conditions. This is me guessing based upon what I heard. None of this is going to matter in terms of a condition that can be written other than either increasing the 150 to some other number, because there's now a greater safety margin on the west or the northwest. That could be rewritten as a legally enforceable minimum. Or enough time has passed such that they've essentially written a new sketch plan that provides them functional knowledge as to where it's practically going to be, such that the only movement is going to be plus or minus 10 or 20 feet anywhere. That would be a minor adjustment that gets approved by staff, or a field condition that's approved by staff, and that's allowed under our LDO. Those things don't come back to the board when it's a meaningless field adjustment. The road isn't exactly like this, it's a little bit like this, But honestly, if two people were to look at it, they would not be able to tell. That's a minor adjustment.
But we're also talking about moving the ambulance bay from the east side to the west side.
Sounds like it is unlikely, based upon what we've heard, it is unlikely that that knowledge will be in something that the applicant would commit to in 60 days.
Is that accurate?
Is that true?
Because
I'll be
two
honest,
things.
I'll be honest with you, what your town attorney is saying is completely different from the guidance we received from staff as to what is flexible and what is not. And so part of what we're going to have to do is figure out what we are comfortable providing you to ensure that we're addressing your concerns, but also not getting caught up in some confusion within town hall about what's allowed and what's not. And so I can give you some answers, but frankly, I don't have all the answers because what I thought I knew when I walked in here is different than what is being told to you, what I'm hearing right now.
I'm sorry that confusion has happened.
Yeah.
So,
So what you're saying is the planning department and the attorney is not on the same page?
I don't want to say anything. All I'm saying is that we had a different understanding coming in. I don't want to say anything about who did what because, we're all human. But we will endeavor to use our time wisely to address the issues and concerns. We hear you loud and clear. We're not trying to hide the ball. We're just trying to be responsible and recognizing this is an iterative process. The concept plan is not the site plan. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that, and I think this is frankly what Town Attorney Neal is trying to do, is make sure that the concept plan doesn't create a box that this development can't get out of.
Sure.
And so I think being sensitive to that, and I think the perfectly good, me saying what I said is not in any way a criticism of anybody on staff. It is rather, it is a developing knowledge and understanding, and I think it'll allow us to all be more comfortable that we've provided what we can, figure out how to provide the commitments we can, because I think what we're ultimately talking about is how do we give you more of a sense of what is the, sort of dotted line where this building will be, and where are the things that we can address or give some information on that are of concern to neighbors, specifically, for instance, the ambulance drop-off zone. Can that be on the west side? Can we either with a condition or something else say, this will be on the western side of the building? Again, some of that is complicated by the fact that, as Tom Cavender said, they don't even know quite what the orientation of the building is going to be, right? So that's why I wasn't, when I said there's some of the stuff that we can't completely do, whether it's in 30 or 60 days, it's not because we won't have the geotech information. It's because you've got architects, geotech, you've got all these things being layered on top of each other. And so I think it's just us trying to be as thoughtful and smart in collaboration with, again, your really good staff. How do we do that in a way that addresses your concerns, addresses the neighborhood's very valid concerns, and ensures that we all have appropriate flexibility so that what we think is the right way to go in a concept plan, when we realize maybe we need to make tweaks in the site plan. And when I say we, I mean the sort of editorial we, everybody. We have the flexibility to do that. And so that's, I think, what I'm taking out of this. Understand the desire to reduce the uses, understand the desire to address the ambulance area and the building location, and we'll look for the best ways to do that. And there's some really smart people that are gonna have to tell me how to do that, so.
Okay. So are you still good with September 1st?
September 1st is our preference, yes.
Okay. So, if you need a delay, you can ask through the planning department. Y'all know the process.
Yeah,
and
we will certainly
So-
be in a lot of touch with your
So-
planning department, so I don't think, our timeline will continue to be,
I
we'll stay
think,
on top.
Mr. Burnett, you started did you start the, so add the date?
To provide the certain date, then we're saying September 1st, right? Yeah.
Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion second. Is there no discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Can I ask a point of clarification with my fellow Commissioner Burnett? Between the two, moving the ambulance bay to the west side or moving the building north and west of its current location? Is one more important than the other? I understand, and I'm just I'm.
Both.
We're looking after you guys, so okay, then we'll leave it that way.
Well, the geography is going to preclude one or the other. If you put the bay on the west side, by definition, the building can no longer be as far to the west.
Bottom line.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Within reason, but
Okay.
yes.
So, any further discussion? Not hearing it, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sound like the ayes have it. Thank you, board. Thank you, guys, appreciate y'all coming out. Apologize for any confusion our staff and attorney gave you. I mean, that's unfortunate, so thank you for coming out. Next item we have is ANX 26-001-825 Avery Road annexation. I think, Steve, you're going to kick that off. I'm going to do it. This is a continuation. So, thank you, appreciate that. This is a continuation, so kind of bring you up to speed where we're at with that. I did close the public hearing.
No, sir, this is a new one.
This is brand new, sir.
This is 825, right?
101 is where you would think about the continuation.
The what?
101.
1101.
1101.
Okay. All right,
Both
so
favorites.
this is a new one then.
That's correct.
All right, so this is ANX 26-001-825 Averitt Road annexation. And Stephen, you're going to kind of give us a staff report. And then after that, if there's any applicant want to give a report, we'll hear that, and then I'll open up the public hearing.
So this is 825 Averitt Road. It's the Hope Baptist Church, their petition to annex into the town. This is an existing church site. I believe they have a desire to add on to their building and make some adjustments, but they want access to sewer, which is a primary motivation for this annexation. And they would get the sewer from the development from behind. So this is just an ordinary annexation petition. I got the PIN number there. It's roughly 10 acres. It's a place of worship. And again, they want access to public utilities, which is the motivation. This is voluntary annexation petition, accepted on April 28th, 26th. The Board of Commissioners ordered the clerk to investigate the sufficiency at the June 16th, 2026 on the consent agenda. The clerk found the petition sufficient on July 21st, 2026, and the Board of Commissioners set a public hearing for tonight. So with any annexation, the board needs to consider the cost benefit of annexation, and in this case, there's no measurable impact to the town because Public Works, Parks, Fire, and Police, code enforcement, it really would have no impact on any of those measurably. If we had a utilities department that was our own, that would be a consideration. Would it impact our ability to provide those services? But that's a Raleigh function. So the proposed motion is to either approve or deny the voluntary annexation petition by adopting the ordinance in your packet.
If I'm thinking correctly, and I'm going northbound or southbound down Averitt, it's literally the church in between KB and Elizabeth Springs. Is right there on the left-hand side? It's on the same side. It's the same side as Elizabeth Springs, literally right there in the middle. Yeah, north, yeah, okay. Thank you.
Is there a presentation from the applicant? Paul, Stephen? It is? Okay.
Hey, good evening. I'm John Fraser with FLM Engineering. We're at 8951 Harvest Oaks Drive, Suite 205 in Raleigh, 27615. I'm civil engineer working with the church, and we've got some church representatives as well. But as Stephen mentioned, this is just a standard annexation request. The church does have some plans and considerations for improving their campus, but before they can even begin that, they need to know that they have access to utilities, because currently they have septic system on site that would prevent any expansions or anything like that. So we've had discussions with planning staff, City of Raleigh staff. City of Raleigh's reviewed some preliminary utility connection plans, so we feel that we have an approvable plan to make these connections, and this is really just a first step to know that we can do it, and the church can then start to explore the possibilities for improvements to their campus. But we're happy to answer any questions that you guys may have tonight.
Yeah, and I think we've annexed properties before because of requests for water and sewer. I guess for the board, Raleigh will not hook up unless it's been annexed in some partner city. So only way they can get water and sewer is for us to annex them.
That's great.
Typically that means, it's a tax-based thing, but the church is nonprofit, so it's exempt. So we would do this not under desire to collect any taxes probably, but
In good faith.
huh?
It's in good faith.
Yes, in good faith.
Good faith.
But
If there's no downside to it, then
yeah, only I don't think there's only.
Then, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a move then, please. I move to approve voluntary annexation petition annex to 26-002 by adopting ordinance 2026-001.
I think I got to open the public hearing first. So can you hold that, Commissioner,
Sure.
if you would?
The utilities are all proximate to the property, right?
Anything else you want to add?
I'll answer Mr. Paul's question. So there's a small sewer extension that will be required from the preserve, and agreement's already in place for that sewer easement, but water is in Averitt Road, so just some minor extension.
Okay, thank you.
So you have access to it?
Right.
I would think that probably. Yeah. Anything else you want to add, presentation-wise?
No, but again, I'm happy to answer any other questions that you may have.
Okay. Well, just stay right there for a minute. I'm open to public hearing. Anybody here in favor? Maybe check the sheet for me, Kristen. No one? Okay. Last chance. Anybody want to speak? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Now, if there's any questions for staff or John, this is time. If not, I will entertain a motion.
Commissioner Long.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, please. I move to approve voluntary annexation petition ANX 26-002 by adopting ordinance 2026-XX.
001.
001.
Has to sign a number.
Yeah.
001.
0001.
Okay. So I have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
I think Commissioner Powell got it. Got a motion second. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes sound like the ayes have it. So thank you. Good to see you, bud.
Welcome
I hadn't
to
seen you in a long
Rolesville,
time.
guys.
Good to see you,
Welcome
Mr.
back to
Mayor.
Rolesville. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Congratulations.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioners. Next item is TA. Anybody want to take a break, or we want to roll through this?
Let's get through this.
TA 26-006 and REZ 26-0004 downtown LA. So it's up to you.
Thank you, Mayor. This overlay district is a long time coming. It's been talked about. It primarily deals with building orientation, parking, buffers, setbacks, and that sort of thing, which I'll get into more. We've broken it into the areas in light blue, and then there's sort of a purple color, which is a core area. There's one distinction between the two areas. The areas highlighted in red on both ends of that area are different than what's in your packet. After the packet went out, this map was shared with the Downtown Development, RDDA, and it was suggested that the overlay extend to all four corners of those intersections. So this map reflects what we would like the board to adopt for the rezoning. The core area is the most walkable core area, and essentially there's a restriction on drive-throughs in that area. So I'll get to the next. The chapter discusses 4 different areas. There's the introductory provisions, which was my first slide. There are permitted and special uses in the downtown overlay. And there are prohibited uses. And then there's design standards. And I'll get into the design standards in a second. I want to point out, though, that we do still have this downzoning provision in the legislature, which restricts us from downzoning any property. And so there is a clause in this ordinance that should any of these provisions presenting downzoning, they don't apply. So in some cases, this will be aspirational. If a landowner, they want to comply, they will. If they get really pushy, they may say, the downzoning provision protects me. So, for instance, we have in the pedestrian area, this walkable core, we want to bring the development signs down from 12 feet down to 6 feet, which is a more pedestrian scale. But in the end, if they really want that 12-foot sign, there's probably nothing we can do, at least until the downzoning provision gets eliminated in the legislature. In the design standards, building orientation, so really the buildings would have to orient the streets. Parking would be located at the side of the rear of buildings. We would be eliminating perimeter buffers since this is all a walkable commercial area. We don't need to buffer it from itself. It's meant to all be complementary. Street buffers are eliminated because the buildings are going to be brought up to the street. There'll be a 5 to 20 foot setback, and only where a building steps back further, they will have to maintain the street edge. Okay. Drive-throughs, again, are not allowed in the walkable core area. That was the purple area, otherwise located to the side or rear of buildings. Vegetation preservation is a part of the code which really wouldn't make sense in the downtown core, so it's not required. And then mailboxes, we're requiring them to be located internally or cluster along Main Street. There are, if you look in your packet, there was minor edits to the other overlay section, other parts of the overlay, and that's really just textual fixes, clarity, typos. And with that, I've got 2 proposed motions. One is to approve or deny the overlay ordinance, finding it consistent or inconsistent with the plan, and please give examples, or a motion to approve or deny the map, the corresponding map.
I have a question. Can I ask my question? Okay. So, in the overlay district, the permitted special uses included lodge and private club. Is that because of Granite Falls? Is Granite Falls in that area? And it also had bars and nightclubs, which I understand there's the Tavern and Greenway, so that's why that's still on there. So, but the lodge and private clubs, what is that? Is that, that new building, Pine Glow, that's private. Is that considered a private club?
I'm not sure if that's considered a private club.
What was the
Traditionally,
Granite Falls you said?
it was the Elks Club, the Moose Club, the Masons.
Oh, that's the one that's behind the church.
Country clubs.
That's not in there, though.
That's not in there. That's not in that.
Okay.
That's not in
But
that.
would Granite Falls fall under that? That was a good point.
Is Granite Falls in that area?
Is
Like a
Granite Falls
private
not
club,
in there
because you have to pay membership.
He said it's not in there.
I don't think it's in
not
that,
in
I don't think it's in that overlay.
Oh, it's not?
Okay.
That's pretty much Main Street, yeah.
Yeah.
So then lodge and private club can come out then?
If you would like them to come out.
Are you seeking to prevent
So what's I know a private,
along Main Street?
A lodge and a private club? A lodge such as, what kind of lodge? Like a,
Hotel, boutique.
No, the description is going to be of dinner club, supper club, membership club, moose lodge, Elks Club, Rotary. That has a
cigar
thing.
club.
Cigar lounge.
Yeah,
Okay.
cigar club, these sort of things.
got it, okay.
Yeah.
Keep going, keep going.
I think Main Street Tavern is a private club.
It is.
Is it?
Yeah,
It's $1.
technically, it's, what is it, $1?
It's $1.
It used to be. And
Yeah, North
I don't
Carolina
know if
just
they enforce
recently
it
got
no
rid of the
more.
private club law, so
But prior to then, it was $1.
but it's still.
But then, at the end of the day.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's just looking for a motion for both the text amendment and the rezoning.
So any additional work has to be done on this, or it's all kind of done? And this clause about, I know, just down zoning kind of held this up for a long, long time. So this clause fixed all that then.
Well, the
In other words,
clause-
somebody have an issue with it, they just challenge it.
We would just back down. We say the clause, you're right, the clause is there, you can build your 12-foot sign. So, you know, we're hopeful that downzoning will go away at some point. Until then, the clause is protecting us.
So I just have one more question. So if there is, in the overlay district, there is a building that is industrial, that they will still, if it's sold, somebody new bought it. It's still zoned industrial even though it's in the overlay district?
That clause fixes them. That's what the clause is for.
So it's now, they're now required to do this?
Only if they expand, it's only new development, really?
Oh.
And that is
Wait.
Because everyone else is legal non-conforming. Legal non-conforming, so if you're gonna expand, your expansion would have to meet these standards unless you challenge it because of the downzoning clause.
So
So,
as long as the building stays the same and everything, nothing else, if they don't build out any or change it in
yeah,
any
it's
way?
just
Okay,
persists, legal non-conforming.
okay, got it.
Good clarity.
After you adopt this, no one who could do something today will not be able to do it tomorrow. Everyone who could do something today will still be able to do it tomorrow. No one can lose their
Right.
land use rights based upon the action you take.
Okay. So they could do whatever they wanted to in the industrial zoning,
Correct.
even though it's
Mm-hmm.
this, so it's not fixed. It's just an overlay.
Well, North Carolina doesn't allow it, so.
Right.
If it's industrial, it could be a vacant industrial site. The day after you adopt this, if they were willing to move forward with the zoning that we currently have, the industrial zone, they would not have to come before you, and they would not be subject to any restriction that has been imposed today in this testimony.
But if they wanted to change the zoning, this is the only thing they could change it to.
If they wanted to come in for a rezoning on their own, then
Yeah,
essentially
that'd be
they're
good for us.
deciding they'd like to be part of a brave new world, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, anything coming in the future,
It's got to.
if they want to do
abide by
something,
it.
they have to do it this way.
Yep.
Unless they're protected by the
Unless they already
downzone.
have it.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless they already have
Or no one is losing. No one loses. If someone were to walk up to you, let's say you were to adopt this tonight, and they come up to you tomorrow and say, you know, government regulates me to death, I can't believe you're taking away my rights, that will not be true.
Still not
Everybody is
true.
completely grandfathered
Okay.
in unless they consent to be restricted.
Okay, got it. I understand.
I do think this is important because I've had a potential developer say, well, we want to do what the town wants. So you're going to find some voluntary compliance
Absolutely.
as you go through.
I'm sure you hear that. I wish the town would just tell me what the town wants, right?
Ready for a motion, sir?
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve TA-26-006 Downtown Overlay District because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Is there any,
You have to provide an example.
anybody want to second that?
Second.
I think the attorney, I mean, not attorney, but, the planning director gave some examples how it's consistent with what, I think he actually said it was consistent, didn't he? He stated that, so,
Using the examples,
yeah, use his
that
example.
our planning director.
It's really the best example that you're bringing the downtown into alignment with the vision of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got a motion second. Is there any other discussion?
No.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Sounds like they have it. They do have it. Then, the map. Who did the motion?
I did. Move to approve rezoning 26-004, official zoning map update for the downtown overlay district, because it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any other discussion? Not hearing. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Sounds like the ayes have it. Ayes do have it. Motion's approved. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, moving along. Communications with town manager Eric. Anything you want to communicate? Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. Appreciate it. Go ahead, Eric.
Nope, don't have any updates. They were covered in the seniors update and also in the public safety update as far as National Night Out and also the Seniors Expo is coming up.
All right, thanks. Any update, Dave Neal, town attorney?
The only item is something in your inbox, which is a proposed motion to go into closed session for a personnel matter.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. The only thing that I have is the proposed closed session for a personnel matter, if that's the board's pleasure. And the form of motion is in your inbox.
Any other thing? Any questions for attorney or Eric? Anything from clerk? Any comment? She's working on the 9/11 contest, so that's gonna be here pretty soon. So yeah, that'd be at the meeting September 1st. We will go back to our new schedule, or not, our kind of normal schedule in September. So with that, I will entertain a motion for executive session.
Mr. Mayor, I have a motion, proposed form of motion for closed session. I move that the board go into closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege pursuant to Chapter 143, Section 318.11A6 of the North Carolina General Statutes to discuss a personnel matter.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. And we will adjourn into close, not adjourn, but recess into closed session. Thank you. Okay, we have come out of executive session. It's pretty late tonight. We spent a pretty good while in meetings tonight. We had a couple of public hearings to do and a couple of business items to take care of. This is the last big, long meeting we'll have, board, so I hope you appreciate us meeting just one time a month during the summertime. As you can see by the clock, sometimes it's going to take a while to do it. But we will be back on the regular schedule in September, and hopefully we'll get out of here much earlier. But just want to appreciate all the work the board put in today. We got a lot of things accomplished. We still got a lot more things accomplished, especially making decisions around the hospital. We want to get it right, but at the same time, we want to support a hospital. We need a hospital in this area, in my opinion, and we need to figure out how to do that, make it the right thing to do. So with that, any comments from from staff or whatever? Any comments from board? Appreciate it. Just want to remind everybody, tomorrow, we have this Senior Citizens Expo. So make sure you come out for that. We'll meet again before 9/11, but the big 9/11 event's coming up too. So thank you. Appreciate it, board. Thanks a lot. We are adjourned.